He said that he doesn't see a fit between the, quote, the goals of the emergency declared by the Commonwealth and the burdening of the constitutional rights of the defendants in this narrow area. I have enough information to say here in this very small corner of this emergency, we don't surrender our constitutional rights. These plaintiffs, that means you, Toby, have constitutional rights that deserve, and your customers, that deserve respect and vindication. And it becomes necessary for a court to do that. And this is an interesting thing he said. There may be in the background a distaste or a lack of enthusiasm for the firearms industry in Massachusetts among political leaders. They're entitled to their views as well. They just can't transgress constitutional rights. That is such a great statement from him, isn't it?
Music to my ears. I mean, it's food for my soul, because that's how it felt as a second-class citizen, as a gun owner in Massachusetts for so long. You know, just because the state hates guns, they want to, torture law-abiding citizens in the process. But yet they'll let violent felons out on the street. They won't enforce gun laws against violent felons, but yet they treat us like the second class of society and make us jump through hoops just to exercise our Second Amendment right, which is a God-given birthright in this country. Or, it's extended to those who emigrate here too, which is amazing. I think, people should realize how hard it is. And that's one of the things that has happened as a result of this shutdown, how hard it is to buy a gun in Massachusetts. People come in and say, like John Kerry, can I get me one of them guns here? It's like...
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
What they did, what the Obama administration did, and I hope a lot of people are going to pay a big price because they're dishonest, crooked people. They're scum, and I say it a lot. They're scum. They're human scum.
Yes, you are scum.
They should pay a big price, and their partner, very complicit, is a thing called the media. The media is totally guilty. And all of those writers and so-called journalists, they're not journalists, they're thieves.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Candidate Trump on the 27th of July exhorting the Russians to go out, an adversary, an enemy of ours, to help him in his campaign against his opponent. And by the way, the Russians complied with that request about 5 hours later.
We're probably the first administration in modern history that hasn't had a major scandal in the White House.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
The new White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, said it's just simply nonsensical for every person in the U.S. to be tested for coronavirus. Do you agree with that?
No, I think the problem is that people are speaking without any knowledge of what they're speaking of.
I left that book in my locker, Mr. Ad.
Unchained and unstoppable.
Please welcome Vice President Joe Biden.
Introduce me. Bound.
Oh, here we go.
And as I said, testing, PPP to make sure people can be safe.
Can't you go 5 seconds without humiliating yourself?
How long was that?
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Joe Biden has a problem with, among other things, numbers, acronyms, and his former Senate staffers who accuse him of raping them. 844-500-4242. I still feel great today. I'm so happy about what's happened, and I'm hoping that we'll have more information coming out very shortly. What's come out so far has been enough to just drive the swamp, the deep state reptiles crazy as it is. 844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. What's, I think, my favorite part of last night, do you remember when Roger Stone was arrested by the FBI last year? And they had this flotilla. He lives on the or did live on the banks of a canal. So they had these little gunboats or whatever you call them, the amphibious vehicles, coming up to him. They had a couple of helicopters hovering overhead, all these people with SWAT outfits on, and of course a CNN camera crew to bag him because he's such a dangerous figure. And his wife, who's a few years older than him, he's 67, she's deaf, and they got an old dog, and they're coming in there with these guns drawn, like he's like he's a member of the some drug cartel from Mexico, like he's an illegal alien fentanyl dealer, Democrat voter on welfare. So, that went down, and now Roger Stone's in deep trouble. But the people that went after Roger Stone and all the others, people that went after Roger, they're having a few problems today. So last night I turned on the TV, and it's not FBI agents being recorded, breaking into Roger Stone's house, breaking down the door, but it's Rick Grinnell, the director of national intelligence, the DNI. And he is being recorded walking into the Justice Department building. And do you know what he has in his hand? A satchel. A satchel that sources tell Fox News is full of more unredacted documents proving the nature of the vast left-wing conspiracy against Donald J. Trump, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Roger Stone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was great to see it. It just, and I know that they had to have tipped Fox off so that Fox would have the camera rolling in much the same fashion that CNN had the camera rolling when they went into Roger Stone. So you've heard about James Clapper, and James Clapper. He was so happy when General Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. This is James Clapper, who lied to Congress. Remember that Ron Wyden, the senator from Oregon, asked him, is the NSA, the National Security Administration, spying on America? No, he was under oath, and he lied. Brennan lied. Brennan was asked by Dianne Feinstein, another Democrat, like Ron Wyden, who asked Clapper. Feinstein said, did the CIA ever spy on Senate staffers? No, he was under oath. It was a lie. Did he go to prison? No, he got a contract with MSNBC, and Clapper got a contract with CNN. McCabe, the day he was sworn in as acting director of the FBI, he lied under oath 3 times. Excuse me, he lacked candor, as the IG put it, lacked candor. Is he gone to jail? No, he got a contract with MSNBC, with CNN. Then there was Comey, who said he couldn't remember 240 times when he appeared before Congress. Did he go to prison for lying? No. He got a multi-million-dollar book deal for his courage. So they released all these transcripts from the House Intelligence Committee hearings, sworn witnesses, 53 of them in 2017. None of them knew anything about Russian collusion. None of them. Not one. Including Clapper. They asked Clapper, another former general, and not nearly as bright as Michael Flynn, if you've ever heard either of them or both of them talk. So Clapper kept saying over and over again that he knew that this collusion was going on. So they asked him, they said, under oath, what collusion have you seen? I don't know. I haven't seen anything. But here's a montage of Clapper on network TV. So I know it's not a crime to lie on network TV, but you'd think that shouldn't this be ending his squalid post-military career? Cut 8.
If there wasn't active collusion proven, then I think what we have here is a case of passive collusion.
Do you agree with Andrew McCabe that it's possible that the president of the United States, the president, is a Russian asset?
Well, the way I completely agree with the way Andy characterized it, that it is a possibility, and I would add to that, caveat that whether witting or unwitting.
After the Helsinki performance and since, that I really do wonder whether the Russians have something on him.
What a great case officer Vladimir Putin is. He knows how to handle an asset, and that's what he's doing with the president.
But then they put him under oath, and he said he didn't know anything about it. Now there was a woman named Evelyn Farkas, a smug, sanctimonious, deep state bureaucrat, just a paper shuffler, a pencil pusher career. And she went on MSNBC, and she talked about how the Trump people were always, they were going to destroy all the evidence against themselves, and she knew this. She absolutely knew this. Cut 13.
I was urging my former colleagues and frankly speaking, the people on the Hill, it was more actually aimed at telling the Hill people, get as much information as you can, get as much intelligence as you can before President Obama leaves the administration, because I had a fear that somehow that information would disappear with the senior people who left. So it would be hidden away in the bureaucracy, that the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning we would no longer have access to that intelligence. So I became very worried because not enough was coming out into the open, and I knew that there was more. We have very good intelligence on Russia. So then I had talked to some of my former colleagues, and I knew that they were trying to also help get information to the Hill.
Okay, so
a lot going on today.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was in March of 2017. So then she goes under oath, and again, pains and penalties of perjury and all that. And so June 26th, 2017, Trey Gowdy, then congressman from South Carolina, is questioning her about this amazing interview that she gave on MSNBC. Well, how would you know what the U.S. government knew at that point? You didn't work for it, did you? I didn't. Then how did you know? Evelyn Farkas, I didn't know anything. Well, then why would you say we knew? Why don't we go back to that sentence that I just asked you about? This is Gowdy continuing. It says, and he's quoting now from what we just played, the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about their staff dealings with the Russians, well, how would you know what the U.S. government knew at that point? You didn't work for it, did you? I didn't. Then how did you know? I didn't know anything. Did you have any information connecting the Trump campaign to the hack of the DNC? This is Gowdy. No. So when you say we know, we knew, the reality is you knew nothing. Correct. So when you say knew, what you really meant was felt. Correct. You didn't know anything. That's correct. You know what Evelyn Farkas is doing now? She's running for Congress in New York State. She's running for Nita Lowey's seat. She's retiring. That's Chappaqua, the hometown, the new hometown of the Clintons. That was the seat that Chelsea Clinton was supposed to run for, but they decided to let Evelyn Farkas because she's such an honorable, ethical person. Can you imagine going on TV, national TV, and just lying through your teeth? I mean, have they at long last no shame whatsoever? I mean, did they not think that there was a chance that they were going to get busted like this? Whether it's Clappa or Farkas or Schiff. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
A nightmare to liberals everywhere. He's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Precinct 10 Restaurant in Weymouth. Precinct 10 is a secretive speakeasy restaurant featuring classic cocktails and regional menu, from New England seafood to Southern barbecue. Find out what's hiding behind their wooden doors. Boomer Naturals is providing 20% off their face masks for Mother's Day. Boomer Naturals face masks are comfortable, made of 3 layers of cotton and polyester, and have special antibacterial fabrics certified to block 92.2% of particles. The best part is they last 30 days. Simply wash them when you go home at night, and they're good to use again the next day. Adult and child sizes are available. Go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on the Boomer Naturals banner. Use promo code HowieCarr20 at checkout to save 20%.
At Subaru of New England, we believe in vehicles that families can trust. And since your safety is our top priority, our retailers are keeping their service departments open. Scheduling your service is easy. Just go to SubaruofNewEngland.com. Enter your zip code to locate your Subaru retailer and contact to confirm participation in hours. It takes love and community to make a difference. And our New England Subaru retailers are committed to being a resource for our neighbors.
They're outlandish, they're outrageous, and they're hypocrites. They're the women of The View.
Bernie was so menschy in that moment, like a real guy. I actually am aroused by him.
Timothy McVeigh was a Christian. Just saying. Hitler was a Christian. Well, he didn't like the Catholics.
Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
I mean, do we have to wait till the hammer and sickle is on the American flag before we stand up to this
Hey, Howard?
guy?
Yes.
I don't know if you saw it, it was a couple hours ago, but Chief Justice John Roberts pauses the order requiring Trump administration to turn over Mueller docs.
You have tanning lotion on?
He what?
You had makeup that was a little
He
bit
paused the order requiring
Dr.
Trump
Jill
administration
becomes a
to
surgeon
turn over
general.
Mueller
She's a
docs
hell of
to
a doctor.
Congress.
Oh, okay. I figured he would.
Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape.
I know it wasn't rape.
Child molest, maybe? I'm not
I
sure.
think it was something. It was something else, but I don't believe it was rape.
Oh, no.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Who do you consider the biggest rhino in the Republican Party?
Probably is Paul Ryan. I wish a Republican were still the speaker, but Paul Ryan was scarcely a Republican. And there was a reason he was Mitt Romney's running mate, because we had a rhino ticket in 2012.
Where did the expression, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" come from?
That comes from the State House. There used to be a state rep who sometimes would talk about atrocities that were happening in crime. And he would get up there and he would say, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" And I just picked it up and it became a trademark.
Where's your favorite place to go out to eat in Palm Beach?
My favorite place to go in Palm Beach is probably the Honor Bar, which used to be O Bar, and you can get a really great hamburger there, and they have a great coffee machine that brews each cup of coffee individually.
This is Lynn in sunny Las Vegas.
This is Dan from the moonbat capital of Jamaica Plain.
This is Gigi in Leominster, Massachusetts, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Jared, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Who do you most want to see in an orange jumpsuit? Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Page, Strzok, or McCabe?
We didn't put Obama in there because he would have won overwhelmingly. We wanted to keep it
we
close.
We don't have
Somewhat.
the generals in this one, just the foot soldiers.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Comey and Brennan, they're not foot soldiers. They're officers. I'm going to vote for Comey.
Comey is in the lead at 65%. Brennan has 21%. Strzok has 8%. And McCabe at 3%. Page and Clapper both at 2%.
Yeah, Strzok is really a loathsome person. But again, he is kind of a foot soldier in the whole organization. 844-500-4242. Before we take a couple of calls, I want to play one cut from Bill Barr with his interview with Catherine Herridge from CBS, used to be on Fox, and they didn't put this on the network newscast, but they did put it online. And I thought this was such a spot-on observation about the fact that all these civil liberties groups are so strangely silent now. And the way she set it up was, she said, are you ready for the incoming now that you've ended this travesty of the Michael Flynn persecution? Cut 6.
You're going to take a lot of incoming, as they say in the military, for this decision.
I'm prepared for that. But I also think it's sad that nowadays these partisan feelings are so strong that people have lost any sense of justice.
Flynn welcomed the news.
Yeah, it's so true. They don't care. Again, where is the ACLU here? Where is the outrage from libs? Why don't they care about the violation of people's due process, setting people up, railroading them? Let's have Kayleigh McEnany, the president's press secretary, cut 7.
The FBI exists to investigate crimes. But in the case of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, it appears that they might have existed to manufacture one. As the motion filed by the Department of Justice yesterday explained, the FBI set out to interview General Michael Flynn when they had no predicate for any investigation of any crime.
Yeah, they manufactured crime. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. That was one of Stalin's secret police officers. He would have fit in great on the 7th floor of the J. Edgar Hoover building on Pennsylvania Avenue. Arthur, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Arthur.
Thanks, Howie. On a day when we're celebrating 75th anniversary of the end of World War II,
in Europe,
when we had America's finest, we're seeing what's America's worst. And I don't see in the history of any country when you had an attempt to overthrow this country, and people who do that are called traitors. And the fact that they're still allowed to go around and walk free and still insult this country by showing their face instead of being incarcerated or put against the wall like they would have been in the 40s. It's what's wrong with this country. The fact that they're still able to walk around and get paid by, CNN is like what Tokyo Rose was in World War II.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I mean, Shelley Luther was in jail in Dallas for wanting to make a living. I see today the town of Holbrook in, around Brockton in Massachusetts has handed out $3,300 in fines for not wearing masks. And these scum, human scum, as the president calls them, are walking around making big money with limousines and going to green rooms and tut-tutting and saying, oh, they're politicizing the Justice Department. They were going to put Flynn in jail for quote unquote lying about nothing because there was no investigation. So what could he lie about if there was no criminal investigation? And these people, all of them, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, they all lied to Congress, and they haven't been indicted, let alone convicted, let alone gone to prison. It's just nauseating. 844-500-4242. It's just, man, they are human scum. Do we have time for President Trump?
We don't.
No, we don't have time for President Trump on human scum. When we
yeah, we can do that.
Cut one.
He was targeted by the Obama administration, and he was targeted in order to try and take down a president. And what they've done is a disgrace, and I hope a big price is going to be paid. A big price should be paid. There's never been anything like this in the history of our country. What they did, what the Obama administration did.
We'll have Pat Buchanan when we come back. I'm Howie Carr. These Stefano hair restaurants or go to hairman.com/Howie. You'll never see this kind of discount again. That's hairman.com/Howie. DiStefano Hair Restoration has 5 locations in New England and is open for business. For more information on location openings, go to hairman.com/Howie or call 1-800-785-HAIR. That's 1-800-785-HAIR.
Howie says it all the time. When it comes to bad politicians, Massachusetts takes the cake.
It is my honor to introduce to you your senator, my senator, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
I know who I am because of what my mother and my father told me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Governor Deval Patrick.
And frankly, I got to tell you, with all the other things I'm worrying about, this is not one of them. We're going to be fine. I'm in charge.
Please join me in welcoming our own Senator Ed Markey.
The planet is running a fever. There are no emergency rooms for planets.
The very first African-American congresswoman to be elected from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley.
We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice.
Let's give him a great Waterloo reception. John Kerry.
The Yankees posted the Boston Red Sox logo and they sang Sweet Adeline.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. As a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile is amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com. I've seen a lot of Anchor cupcakes in my day. Here are some of the latest network nitwits.
And he says, if I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Correct me, there already are term limits, so what does he mean?
And what are we hearing in the background? Is that shelling?
No, Katie, you're actually hearing that from here in Jerusalem, and it's actually fireworks going off right behind me.
We're in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? So that's not gunshots? Okay.
Ivanka is not the second lady. She is actually, I don't think she deserves this position. She's actually a senior advisor to the president. So the idea that he would demean her specifically in that way, he shouldn't talk about the first lady that way. We aren't all here to make salads for men. It's disgusing.
I mean, I'm presuming he was talking about Karen Pence when he said second lady.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Not Montana. I'm talking about never mind.
Yeah, no,
Ignore me.
That's
I was
getting
Montana and North Dakota confused because, I don't know, I just was.
You might hear a lot about Bernie, Biden, and Elizabeth Warren, but what about the lightweights who are running for president? Here's a best of the B team.
I've listened to some of my colleagues, Mr. Glover, tell you how much they like your movies. And I have to say, we didn't come here to talk about your movies. We came here to talk about your activism. I like your activism. I also like your movies, but I want to give you a chance because I haven't heard the other side other than tell you that they like their that they like your movies.
I think the NRA is the worst organization in this country for doing exactly that. They care more about the profits than the American people.
I learned a long time ago about polling. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. I mean, right now, I got nowhere to go but up.
Millions living in the shadows, working some of the toughest jobs, kept in modern day bondage.
People commit crime. Crime happens.
I have won every single congressional district in my state, including Michelle Bachmann's. Okay? That's when you guys are supposed to cheer.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. We're joined now by Pat Buchanan, who is a longtime friend of the Howie Carr Show, former presidential candidate, former presidential aide, former employee of the embattled network, MSNBC, NBC. Pat, where do we begin today? You want to begin with NBC, your former network there for a while?
Well, sure, we'll go anywhere. I'm on what is it? I'm on one of those agreements where you can't knock your boss or something. But let's go.
I'm sure you were very close.
No, I must say, I worked at MSNBC and I was on Morning Joe and I was on all the other shows. I enjoyed it. You were you sort of stood out a little bit as a right-wing Republican, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and there were some of those guys on that station, though, where half of them were touching everything but the third rail, as we say in Boston, and the other half were just making up stories right and left. And some of them were doing both, I'm sure.
Well, I'll say that there's no doubt about it. You take the cable news networks. They're far more, wholly opinionated one side or the other than they were even a few short years ago, I think. And but I'll be honest, I watch all three of them. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News and Fox Business. I'm going by 6 or 7. I'm going back and forth across the spectrum.
Yeah. Now, Pat, this situation with the FBI. I mean, you were around Washington a long time. You remember. You probably met J. Edgar Hoover one time or another. I'm sure because you were from D.C. He was from D.C. I mean, this is so far.
I'll tell you a story.
Go ahead.
My uncle wasn't actually an uncle, but he was to the family. One of my mother's best friends from Western Pennsylvania married him. He was an assistant director, Tom Jenkins, a great friend of the family. He brought me the FBI in Peace and War, a book. I know all the stories about Dillinger and Ma Barker and Alvin Karpis and Babyface Nelson, all those from those days. And as a matter of fact, I helped Nixon craft the statement on Hoover's death. But the FBI in those days, I will say, even though the left was really going to work on it by the early 70s, the FBI was a tremendously venerable organization. What's going on with these clowns now is just appalling. What Comey did to Flynn and what that guy, that FBI guy, he said, we got Flynn, we got the tape, we got the transcript, go over and ask him. And if he confirms the transcript, we get him on the Logan Act. And if he denies it, we get him to line for the FBI. It's a setup. They're going after the guy to destroy him. Why?
I know. And both of the things that they were going to get him on are nothing. Really.
They're not only nothing, he was doing the right thing. Obama throws out all the Russians and Putin's going up the walls and he called Kislyak and said, look, keep your shirt on. You're going to have a new team in a month. And the president's got a new program and he got new ideas, so don't do anything crazy. And so Putin invited all our diplomats to a party. Then they called the Russians and said, can you cut us some slack by going and helping out the Israelis in the Security Council? Obama's is going to basically abstain on one of these anti-Israel resolutions. Would you guys veto it? I think Kislyak said that's a bridge too far for us. But this is what you do. When Kissinger came in with Nixon, back there in December, or late November, December 1968, obviously he's going to call Dobrynin, the Russian ambassador. Right. Mr. Dobrynin, how's it gone? And the president's got some interesting new ideas, and we hope you'll take the time to listen to him and tell Brezhnev we got a new president coming in.
Yeah.
And so,
and we'll talk about Cambodia after January 20th.
Himself.
Right? We'll talk about Cambodia after January 20th. LBJ is still the president right now, right?
Exactly. On the bombing and whether you're going to have a bombing halt and things like that, withdrawal of troops, just say, we'll be in there on January 20th. We just want to let you know we've got a fresh approach, and I want to introduce myself.
Yeah. I can't believe, though, that they tried to do this. And the other thing, Pat, is it's now come out yesterday that a lot of these people that were on TV, like Clapper, for instance, and this woman, Evelyn Farkas, who's now running for Congress up around Chappaqua District, Westchester County, they went on TV and talked incessantly about the Russian collusion and the plot to put Donald Trump into the White House. And then they go in under oath a couple of months later, and they're asked, so what is it with all these plots that you know about? And they say, oh, I'm under oath. I don't know anything about it. I don't know. Exactly. I made it all up. Pat,
I don't know how Clapper they did that. Clapper, what did Clapper say? Look, all the time was in there. We never found any evidence of any collusion or conspiracy between the Trump campaign and and the Russians. And they knew all this while this whole thing was going on. Why didn't Mueller, when he came in, look at some of these things for about a month and say, we got nothing here? Now, either give it something in a month or shut it down. But it went on and on and on. And I really can't blame Trump for his exasperation and rage. But Howie, look at it. They got Papadopoulos, it turns out, a nothing. Carter Page, they tried to go after him, nothing. Then they go after the FISA court thing, the Steele dossier, pack of lies, the whole thing.
Right.
The more you go through the thing, the Mueller report blows up in their face. Even the New York Times says, listen, we spent 2 years with this thing and came up with nothing.
I know.
And all these things, what was it all about other than to get Trump?
I know, and you got McCabe. McCabe's out there saying this is the politicization of the Justice Department because they stopped the guy. They stopped the guy from being lynched. He was going to jail for allegedly lying about nothing. The day McCabe was sworn in as the acting director, according to the Inspector General, he lied 3 times under oath. Well, why isn't he going to jail? And instead, he's tut-tutting. Why aren't they putting Flynn in jail? He should be in jail.
You should even look at. Didn't you see Comey's? This was clever. We thought, because those guys are just getting things organized at the White House, I'll just send the agents over and slip on in there and talk to talk to Flynn and not alert him about the fact that if he makes a misstatement here, he can get indicted. I mean, the whole thing, the whole top level of the FBI and their connections with the Steele dossier and going back to that guy Steele and him going back to Russia, British intelligence, and all those folks, Papadopoulos, every time he sat down, the head of the Foreign Intelligence Agency was at the next seat at the bar.
Right, and then they got the honeypot, good-looking secret agents. They're handing him $10,000 in cash. I mean, you got to say one thing. He was smart enough to know he was getting set up.
He dropped it in Greece, and they frisked him at Dulles. Where's the damn money they gave him?
I know.
I mean, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. But I will say, this morning I was watching some TV and read the newspapers, and there are some unhappy campers in this town.
Oh, I know, but it's so bad. Anyway, let's move on because I want to ask you about. You had a good column about Joe Biden, and it just gets worse and worse for Joe. Now it turns out that Tara Reade's ex-husband, when he was getting a divorce from her in 1996, he mentioned that she'd never been right after she was sexually harassed in Joe Biden's office. I mean, this woman has so much more corroboration than all of the people who accused Kavanaugh put together.
Yeah, it makes me understand a little better why Joe's hiding in that basement. As I said, look, this is, they say, the greatest crisis since World War II. And I agree it might be. Do you think John F. Kennedy would be elected president if he spent World War II in his basement?
I know.
I mean, Joe apparently had quite a gathering down there in Tampa.
Yeah, he always has the other day he gets confused about what century he's in. He was talking about campaigning in 1918 the other day, Pat.
Well, that was the other virus. He just got it wrong.
Yeah, we'll play. Let's give it.
No,
Let's
Joe,
play.
I mean, I mean, the Biden thing does interest me. I don't know. Here's the thing. He's going to have to talk about Tara Reade when he comes out. Explain, did he know her when they hired him? How did he interact with her? Why did she leave? I mean, you get a gal 29 years old, a gal working in the office of a 20-year senator who's very famous and very prominent, got a plum job. Why did she leave? Does he remember why? Did he know her well? Did he know her well? I mean, he's going to have to answer a lot of these questions, But I think the final line is that those folks are going to just say, look, we got Joe or we got nothing.
You really think he'll be the nominee, Pat?
Well, I've thought that he might not be the nominee, but I don't know. You see, I don't know who takes it away from him and what that does to the party. I mean, the prominent candidate right now, of course, is whatever you say about him. Cuomo's out there every day, sitting up there. I mean, he may be socially distancing, but he's out there every day speaking to the issue. He seems to be doing well. The guy in California's had some problems, Newsom, but he seems to be doing well. But who goes up and says, Joe, you got to go, and who we're going to replace you with?
Right. Well, I mean, it seems like Cuomo's record, though, is starting to catch up with him. All these people dead in nursing homes that he sent back cured patients. I mean, he really does have kind of a disastrous.
He orders the people back into those nursing homes.
Right. I think his record's catching up with him. But the other problem is Bernie, of course, because Bernie's going to want it. And, you know, the Bernie bros were already talking about burning down Milwaukee. They were going to make it like Chicago, as one of them put it, like Chicago in 1970. They didn't even know the year, but they knew what they were going to do. And
the one thing I wonder, once you get to they're not going to have a convention. You're right. If it's a virtual convention, and they don't get anybody on the first ballot, at the end of the first ballot, I think the superdelegates start voting, don't they?
Yes.
But who are they? You got to have a candidate to replace Biden with. You got to have Biden's agreement. And Biden here is going to be picking, this is an interesting choice, he's going to be picking a woman as VP. You know, if he picks Klobuchar, the moderate from, that's going to alienate the Bernie folks. If he picks Warren, you know, Wall Street's saying goodbye and good luck. And if he picks, the Kamala Harris, I don't know how that helps him. It helps him in California where he doesn't need help. And then you got Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
Oh my God!
Of course, this Georgia thing, I think, could get inflamed by this latest incident down there.
Right, but I mean, they say they're seeing her in action. You know, campaigning for the job. It's crazy. They say that they don't really like her very much. So I don't.
What do they do if they don't pick an African American when all those folks came and rescued him in South Carolina? I mean, they're the reason Joe Biden is the nominee if he's going to be the nominee. Is the African American community, you know, and they've had a woman candidate for president, Hillary, and vice president, the gal from Queens, and so they'll say it's our turn. So you know they got a lot of problems again. I'm beginning to understand
why
he's not moving out of the cellar.
And today Trump said, well, you know, if he needs some, you know, antibodies testing so he can get back out on the campaign trail, we'll get him right to it. Trump wants him out of the cellar more than anybody else.
Today came out and said, "Are we on?"
I know.
It is too funny, but I saw Bill Bennett the other night predicted that Biden wouldn't be the nominee 50-50. And I felt that way, but then people have been saying, who's going to get it from him? And I'm trying to think through how they take it away from him. Who can, with authority, could do that? I mean, would Obama step in himself?
No, I don't think so. There's nobody like Hugh Scott going to Nixon in 74. You know, there's nobody like that. There are no adults left in that party.
Yeah, well, the truth is, about that 74 incident, I remember it very well. The truth is that when Goldwater, Hugh Scott, and a fellow from Arizona, Johnny Rhodes, showed up at the White House, Ray Price had already written the resignation speech and had a draft on Nixon's desk. It's a myth that they talked him into resigning. Nixon decided after that tape, after the June 23rd smoking gun tape, we dropped that on Monday. By Tuesday, the firestorm was on, and Nixon asked for a resignation speech, and Ray wrote it. Ray Price wrote it and was on his desk Thursday when those guys showed up.
You know, I know they always say Trump.
It's a myth, but it is a useful myth.
They always say Trump doesn't know much about history, but he was talking about it that period of time pretty cogently this morning on Fox and Friends when he said, "You know what? I don't have tapes in my Oval Office," and I was. That was Nixon's big mistake. That was LBJ's big mistake too, when you think about it, and Kennedy's too. Who the hell ever thought of the idea of putting that tape system in the Oval Office? Pat, I got to take a break, but thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure. If you're just waking up now and realizing that Mother's Day is just 2 days away, there's no need to panic, but you do have to knock this out ASAP. Today is officially your last chance to celebrate all of the special moms in your life with 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, 1-800-Flowers has last chance Mother's Day gifts, bouquets, and arrangements. They're a great way to make every mom feel loved when it matters most. Most restaurants in most parts of the country are still going to be closed down on Sunday. You're not going to be able to take your mom out to dinner like you usually do. So this is the best way to tell your mom how much you love her if you're going to give her a gift. She always loves flowers. She may say she'd just as soon just get a card, but she wants flowers. Believe me, you know it too. With an amazing selection of sweets, treats, and bouquets. So you have other choices besides flowers. 1-800-Flowers has everything you need for this Mother's Day, and she'll never guess how great of a last-minute deal you scored. 1-800-Flowers is committed to the safety of their team members and your family, so all deliveries are contactless. With limited delivery, you need to lock in your order early, so hurry and order today. Don't put this off. Order today from the official florist of Mother's Day, 1-800-Flowers.com. To order your Mother's Day gifts, bouquets, or arrangements, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Howie. Mother's Day is Sunday, so order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Howie. 1-800-Flowers.com, code Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
He's suave, he's debonair, he's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by J.T. Kelly, real estate broker of Keller Williams, serving Greater Boston. Have you realized during quarantine that you need a new living arrangement? Call J.T. Kelly at 1-800-364-9200. 1-800-364-9200.
It's time for quarantine questions. You're up, Jared. What have you been eating the most during this quarantine?
I've been eating a lot of Indian food because that's all that's in the machine downstairs, and I'm really growing to like it.
What is your drink of choice during the lockdown?
My drink of choice, I'm definitely a Scotch guy. A nice Dewar's really does it for me.
What about a non-alcoholic drink?
Coffee.
What one TV show would you recommend to people who are quarantining right now?
One show? Star Trek The Next Generation. You can't go wrong. It's got everything you want. It's got high concept science fiction. It's got humanity. It's got great characters. It's the last truly great television show.
What is the biggest pet peeve about being at home?
I can see all the dirt that I don't clean, and it mocks me.
What is the biggest silver lining of staying at home?
I'd say wearing sweatpants, but I do that most of the time anyway. I'll say wearing my Spider-Man costume and not being judged.
We put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
You know, people are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
Bernie Sanders is officially in the race for 2020. Let's look back at some of the septuagenarian's greatest hits.
Should we give tax breaks to billionaires, which is what Trump wants, or demand that the wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes?
Blah, 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 blah. It's funny. Sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is with people lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death.
We understand your wife has hired a lawyer to represent her in a possible probe into a land deal that fell apart. This was back when she was president of Burlington College.
No, it was not when she was. Oh, let me say a word on that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to ask you, do you know she's under FBI investigation?
Excuse me. My wife is about the most honest person I know.
At the end of the day, you don't necessarily need a choice of 23 underarm spray deodorants or 18 different pairs of sneakers.
People should not be dying in the United States of America when they are sick.
We will raise taxes.
This is Jay in Hingham, Massachusetts.
This is Gloria from Haverhill, Mass.
Hi, this is Joe from Howie in the Hills, Florida. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
Guess who got a haircut today at Shelley Luther's salon in Dallas? Senator Ted Cruz. He said he hadn't had a haircut in 3 months.
Did he get rid of the beard?
I don't know. I'm just reading the story. I haven't seen any video. He looked okay in the beard, actually. He didn't look bad, but Governor DeSantis could use a haircut right about now in Florida. But he reopened Palm Beach County today, starting Monday. So I'm okay. Don't get a haircut on my account. 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. Let's see here. Paul, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Howie, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, got a question. I've been going to the New Hampshire rallies. They've been having to reopen.
Yes.
And we had nurses down there stating that they were told by the hospital to claim that a death is a COVID death, even if it's not, because the hospital's get a kickback for money. You know anything about that?
No, that's I don't know if you call it a kickback, but I think they get more money from the feds if it's listed as a COVID-19 death. That's been going on all over the country. And what does it tell you that the death toll is still under 100 and they're getting extra money if they can claim COVID deaths? I just saw there was a motorcycle ran into a truck, a mail delivery truck yesterday, and a young woman was killed that was on the motorcycle. I wonder if she's going to be listed as a COVID death. Wouldn't surprise me, would it you? Thanks for the call, Paul. 844-500-4242. I'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
engage in the kind of sham shenanigans that Mitch McConnell is really good at.
I'm confused.
This was just a sham.
Guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of action? It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up.
I think the noose is closing, and, Giuliani is like a loose cannon, and so is the president, frankly.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show. You can call him Fat Boy, just don't call him late for dinner. He's Howie Carr.
We will bring over your entire family from the third world Muslim hellhole that they live in so that they can have an all expenses paid, taxpayer funded with open bar weekend at a nice hotel in Boston, get a nice sightseeing tour, maybe take them to Fenway Park for a game so they can see their savage Muslim terrorist kinsman sentenced to death. But the president of the United States of America can't be allowed to speak before Parliament because he's such a terrible barbarian, as opposed to the dictator of Red China. And I'm going to call it Red China. Since the Dems are down on Russia, we might as well go after all the communist dictatorships that are left, right? Russia isn't even a communist dictatorship. It's just authoritarian now, but let's call it Red China. Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300. And now, another minute of Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
But again, don't...
You have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
That's like 5 people. They would say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. But no, I because we are not. We have the number is growing. We have 91 women. There are 115 women in Congress, 116. 15 are Republican, 91 are Democrats. I happen to be a manifestation of the...
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
What they did, what the Obama administration did, and I hope a lot of people are going to pay a big price because they're dishonest, crooked people. They're scum, and I say it a lot. They're scum. They're human scum.
Yes, you are scum.
They should pay a big price, and their partner, very complicit, is a thing called the media. The media is totally guilty. And all of those writers and so-called journalists, they're not journalists, they're thieves.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Candidate Trump on the 27th of July exhorting the Russians to go out, an adversary, an enemy of ours, to help him in his campaign against his opponent. And by the way, the Russians complied with that request about 5 hours later.
We're probably the first administration in modern history that hasn't had a major scandal in the White House.
You sit on a throne of lies. Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
The new White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, said it's just simply nonsensical for every person in the U.S. to be tested for coronavirus. Do you agree with that?
No, I think the problem is that people are speaking without any knowledge of what they're speaking of.
I left that book in my locker, Mr. Ad.
Unchained and unstoppable.
Please welcome Vice President Biden.
Introduce me. Alan?
Oh, here we go.
And as I said, testing
PPP to make sure people can be safe.
Can't you go 5 seconds without humiliating yourself?
How long was that?
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
PPPs, PPEs. Joe gets so confused. 1918, 2018. What's a century among friends? Joe Biden, unstuck in time, unstuck in acronym land. Welcome to the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us, the toll-free number is 844-500-4242. Bad economic news expected today. The April jobless numbers are out. The unemployment rate is at a all-time high since the Depression, 14.7%, 20.5 million jobs, 20,500,000 jobs lost in April. 47% of all jobs in the hospitality industry are gone in 1 month as the panic of 2020 continues. The alt-left media is very happy that these terrible statistics, which were nonetheless expected, have given them a chance to not talk about the Michael Flynn case, the scandal involving the FBI, the deep state, the Justice Department, and the Obama administration attempting to overthrow the current government of the United States. They're giving it a good leaving alone, as a fictional character Eddie Coyle used to say, a good leaving alone. They were all in a state of high dudgeon briefly, and then now they've moved on, and nothing to see here, folks. It's down the memory hole, kind of like Tara Reade's accusations against Sleepy Joe Biden. 844-500-4242. We'll later on have with us Dr. Scott Atlas. He's one of the really good commentators on this pandemic, so-called. And he was out of Stanford University. We'll have him on at the bottom of the hour. But right now, it's time for Grace's News.
Hello, Howard. What a news day. What a week. I think everyone's feeling pretty good going into the weekend. Thank God for Bill Barr. It used to be TGIF. Now it's just, thank God it's Bill Barr. Because without him, I don't know what would have happened here. But I'm very happy for General Flynn. Everything's looking on the up and up. But I have to say, Howie, the networks, including Brian Williams, and you know it's bad when these networks bring in Jeffrey Toobin. They're getting very upset about all of this Flynn news. And here I thought they'd be so excited that a good man like Flynn has, had some justice, but they don't see it that way. They see this as the justice system crumbling. Nicole Wallace looked like she was going to shed a tear. She looked frightened, like someone
I thought a bus had run over her puppy.
Or she had heard a soda can open somewhere in the studio. It was truly devastating. I want to play the montage. And
what you have to remember about this, and you know this, but I'm just going to remind you of it. Whatever they're accusing Donald Trump and Bill Barr of doing, it's exactly what they themselves have been doing. So they're saying it's politicizing the Justice Department to end the utterly corrupt political attempt to railroad this patriotic 3-star general, Michael Flynn. But
right. And Howie, sorry to interrupt you, but another thing I would say is sometimes when you get someone angry, you think, well, if you're upset about this, I'm doing something right. That's how I feel about my columns. If certain people comment on them, and certain people on Twitter who are a little bit Trump deranged, I think, well, I probably had a good column if these people are upset. So when I see Nicole Wallace and Brian Williams looking so distraught, I think things are turning. Things are going back to the way they should be. Now, this montage, I don't know if it was Newsbusters or Free Beacon, so I'm going to name both of them, but it's a great montage. It's cut 11. We'll listen to as much as you want, Howie. You tell us when we've had enough.
On social media, the very first comment after the story broke that I saw on Twitter was, Putin, if you're listening, high five your asset. And there are Russian flags and Russian memes popping up.
And now we see Bill Barr really just doing Donald Trump's dirty
work.
Now
let's stop it briefly. That first one That first
was
one
Brian Williams.
Brian Williams, the guy who falsely claimed that he had seen bodies floating down Canal Street in New Orleans in the wake of the Hurricane Katrina. And the water was never more than an inch high. So,
Howie, could I also add something in?
yes.
It's a little surprising to me that Brian Williams is so upset about this when you'd think he'd be in a better mood, considering Bloomberg gave him $1 million last time I checked.
Oh, that's true. He did. Yeah, I know.
He's
almost as good at math as Joe Biden is.
He moonlights as a mathematician when he's not seeing dead bodies float by. And Howie, you're going to want to stop this a couple times.
He's a fighter pilot too. Remember, when he was in the Mideast, he was some terrorist guerrilla groups fired on his helicopter. They had to make an emergency landing in the desert. Remember that? That was after when he was a kid in New Jersey. He was selling Christmas trees, and a robber came up to him and put a gun in his face when he was about 12 years old and stole all his money. He's had a hard scrabble life.
He's Forrest Gump. He's been in anything you can imagine. He has been there, and he's played an active role in it.
And now he knows now he knows how excited Putin is.
I love how he said, Howie, the funny part about that, and we'll play from the beginning, is he said the first comment I saw on Twitter. And the reason that makes me laugh is because when he did that segment with Mara Gray from the New York Times about the math and Bloomberg giving everyone $1 million. That was a random tweet they saw on Twitter that they put up on MSNBC to say, look at this crazy tweet we saw that's so accurate about Bloomberg's campaign. So now he's telling us tweets and my whole thing is, who are you following on Twitter? One person's telling you that Putin should get high-fived. The other person's doing cockamamie math. You might want to find some new followers, bro. Play it.
On social media, the very first comment after the story broke that I saw on Twitter was, Putin, if you're listening, high five your asset. And there are Russian flags and Russian memes popping up.
And now we see Bill Barr really just doing Donald Trump's dirty work.
Now he has in his back pocket a little AG who saw to it to let Flynn go.
It is, I think, breathtaking dishonesty from the Justice Department. This is the collapse of the Justice Department.
Katyal, you caught my breath with the collapse of the Justice Department.
This is a case where the fix was in.
The fix is in.
Not good for the rule of law. It's not good for morale. And it's not a fair outcome.
This is an absolute injustice.
I don't worry anyone who
absolute
cares
justice.
About the rule of law.
Mike Flynn's lawyers have been engaged in a smear campaign.
This is a political
smear campaign against the people who smeared him.
Destructive thing to the rule of law.
It's all heading towards the president wiping the Mueller investigation out of the history books, at least as far as criminal conviction.
That's Tubin reporting from his living room on his Zoom call. Howie, it's the only part of it that disappoints me is I didn't hear constitutional crisis, and that's what I usually that's a good one for me.
How about Saturday Night Massacre? This is a modern Saturday Night Massacre.
Nicole Wallace loves to say things, take her breath away. She's like, you just took. That's what she tells all her guests. They say anything. She goes, you know, Jerry, you just took my breath away. With this this bad thing you said about Trump, it really took my breath away. They got to get a grip.
Again, remember, it wasn't dirty work to try to frame Michael Flynn. It was dirty work to stop him from being framed.
Right.
That was the collapse of the Justice Department to stop the railroading of an innocent man.
Well, you had to love Elizabeth Warren's tweet yesterday that Jared actually had the audacity to read to me during our wonderful news day, in which she said something along the lines of, Bill Barr is not Trump's lawyer. He's the America's lawyer. Jared, I'm not doing it justice.
No, that's exactly what you said. Bill Barr is America's lawyer, not Trump's lawyer. He should resign.
He should resign. That's how they feel now. If anything you do doesn't fit their narrative of Orange Man bad, you should either recuse yourself or resign. And I just want to say to people who are going to text in and say, did Grace have a couple drinks at lunch because I sound all revved up? I'm just happy. So save your tweets and your texts. I'm just happy that the news is shifting in a little bit more positive of a direction, something we can all be happy about. I think General Flynn seems like a wonderful person. He's done more for this country than Jeffrey Toobin, Nicole Wallace, Brian Stelter, and Brian Williams combined, and you can take that to the bank as long as you have a mask on.
Investigation continued.
When I was a kid, they had some of the Superman comic books. They had Bizarro World Superman. You remember that? Older people will remember it. I don't think they've been doing Bizarro World for a long time. Everything was exactly the reverse.
Yeah, Jerry, that was in an episode of Seinfeld. There was a Bizarro Jerry, Bizarro Kramer.
That was a Bizarro montage. I mean, everything was exactly the opposite of the reality of it, the truth, if you will.
It's about to get far more bizarre because on the other side, I'm going to play an interview between, this is how one tweet put it that I really liked. TV's dumbest lawyer talks to Hollywood's most pretentious actor about things neither understand nor qualified to lecture us about. So you have that to look forward to. You might have heard it in the intro, but it's worth replaying. And Howie, I just got some breaking news from an inside source.
Yes.
Palm Beach is, I believe, going to open on Monday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. 25% in the restaurants, but Palm Beach now there's 65 counties open. The only ones that are still shut down are going to be Broward and Miami-Dade, and they'll be joining Free America soon enough, I'm sure.
All right, Howie. When we get back on the other side, I've got that cut for you and so much more.
I'm Howie Carr.
Howie Carr. You can trust him. He's not like the others.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by DJ's Famous Wings, with 2 locations in Hyannis and Falmouth, offering safe and clean curbside pickup, takeout, and no-contact delivery. Stop in today and support a local business. DJ's Famous Wings. You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while, and some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? Because the benefits are incredible. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout your body. It even supports healthy blood pressure. Just 1 scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. This level of research is unheard of in the nutrition category. To try Super Beets risk-free for 90 days, visit www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie and get a free 30-day supply, free shipping, and free nitric oxide strips to test your nitric oxide levels with your first purchase. Or call their toll-free number, 800-876-1619. That's www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie, or call their toll-free number, 800-876-1619.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
How did you come up with the name VB?
My first producer and I both had steady girlfriends, or we were married or whatever. And VB was always saying that we were whipped. You know what I mean? Finally, I said, you don't even have a girlfriend. I've never seen you with a female. As a matter of fact, I don't think you have ever had sex. You are just a virgin boy.
What is your biggest fear?
That Donald Trump will not be reelected in 2020, and that some horrible Democrat will come in and finish off the destruction of this once great country.
Out of all of your daughters, who is the least like you and why?
Probably Charlotte, even though we went to the same high school, Deerfield Academy. She has a different sense of her responsibilities than I do. Let me put it that way. She has a different regard for money. She's not a cheap bastard, in other words. I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, some of my favorite fake Indian cuts of all time. Oh, la, 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 la.
I'm not going to ask you for your favorite curse word. Actually, I am. Do you have a favorite curse word?
Poop.
Poop? Oh, that's a goody two-shoes
No, it's
favorite
not.
curse word
No,
if I
it's-
ever heard one.
Are you kidding? Have you ever seen a woman like me look you straight in the face after you finished some long explanation of something and then just said, poop? Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
I am not sure what she's talking about as far as a rally with.
It was a rally in Bern, Oregon, is that you have to figure out who you are. I grew up in a family that was barely hanging on to the ragged edge of the middle class. And my Aunt Bee has walked by that picture at least 1,000 times, remarked that her father, my papa, had high cheekbones like all of the Indians did.
Hi, my name's Jane Lucas, and I'm from the town of South China, Maine.
This is Al from Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Hey, I'm Angela from Brewster on the Cape, and this is the one and the only Howie Carr Show.
Deep in space lies an imperfect duplicate of the Earth known as the Bizarro World.
I was just looking at Amazon, and some of the old comics, they're going for over $30. I think I got to find a different place to reread the old Bizarro comics. Pete from Vero Beach just texted me and said, I have an old Bizarro comic that shows Superman playing baseball with the Bizarros. They tell Superman, you hit ball over fence, you out. You know, now that I think about it,
It be Bizarro number one.
now that I think about it, some of those Bizarros looked a lot like Adam Schiff and James Clapper. Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Jared, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Who do you most want to see in an orange jumpsuit? Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Page, Strzok, or McCabe?
I want to see them all in one, but that would have been 100%. So I'm going to vote with the majority for Comey.
Yes, Comey holding strong at 66, Brennan in second place at 20, and Peter Strzok at 9%, bringing up third.
I'm going to go with Brennan, actually. As someone who's had to pull a lot of Brennan sound, and his voice is so snaky, and I don't know, there's something about him that makes my skin crawl.
He thinks he's smart, and he's not very smart.
Sanctimonious for sure. Guys,
Does
don't
Comey,
forget.
by the way, does Comey get out of going to prison because he's so tall? He's 6'8". You know, back in the old days, you didn't have to go. You were ineligible for the draft if you were over 6'6". And then they changed that as it got harder and harder to recruit people. But anyway,
Howie, didn't you say back in the olden days you guys would eat a lot of food so that you'd get fat and then you wouldn't have to, or I should say overweight, and then you wouldn't have to go into the draft?
I lived in the football dorm at UNC my first year, and a lot of guys were doing that.
Oh, but not you.
I was 17 when I started college. I was a little young. Thank goodness.
Guys, don't forget, Mother's Day is only 2 days away. I cannot believe it. Right now is your last chance to celebrate mom with gifts, bouquets, and arrangements from 1-800-Flowers.com. Don't put this off. She's going to tell you, don't worry, I don't want anything. Spoiler alert, she does. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Howie. All right, I promised everyone this cut, and unfortunately, I'm going to deliver it. Sean Penn was on The View. I should issue this warning. You are going to feel dumber after you hear this. Cut 29.
But yesterday, the new White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, said it's just simply nonsensical for every person in the U.S. to be tested for coronavirus. Do you agree with that?
No, I think the problem is that people are speaking without any knowledge of what they're speaking of. This testing should be thought of again in a very, very basic way. In this kind of active shooter way of looking at it. This is a weapon that can get into any neighborhood, it can get into any school, get into any, as we know, retirement home. elderly care home, and even out the street. And
how many
market.
schools has it gotten into, Sean?
So,
Mr. Madonna.
Of course, we have to test if the idea is that human life matters, and those kinds of comments, I think, will normalize a disconnect between who we are.
Can we quote you on that?
And how we're.
I have to say, I really have to say that hearing Sean Penn talk about coronavirus testing and say that Kayleigh McEnany, who's the White House press secretary, shouldn't be talking about something she doesn't know anything about. That's bizarro world. That is, I can't even wrap my mind around that.
You're an actor.
I would say go back to making movies, Sean, but I don't want to put anyone through that either.
Yeah, I don't want to hear him at the Actors Workshop or whatever that stupid show is, because he doesn't know anything about acting either. All right, we'll be right back with Dr. Scott Atlas. I'm Howie Carr. Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever, is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300. People are reacting to the tweets, to a tweet.
Is New England's talk.
Patches Date said he was just there without trousers. Or as we say in Paris, sans culotte.
We've seen nothing that we can work, that I can work with President Bush on, and I'm disappointed because I thought that there might be some interest because of what he said in the campaign.
President Bush, this is your brain. This is your brain on Botox. Okay, that's the lesson of that one. John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. You know, as a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile is amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about
And now, another minute of Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
But again, don't.
You have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
That's like 5 people. They would say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. But no, I because we are not. We have the number is growing. We have 91 women. There are 115 women in Congress, 116. 15 are Republican, 91 are Democrats. I happen to be a manifestation of the women power that is coming forth now, but only one manifestation. It was like getting kicked in the back by a mule constantly. It was physical. It was so unbelievable. The Times found Lincoln. Not to be presumptuous to put ourselves in those categories, but the Times have found us.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. Joining us now is Dr. Scott Atlas. He's a Hoover Institution senior fellow. He's a physician, and he's one of the leading experts on COVID-19, I would say. Dr. Atlas, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show. Again, we always appreciate having you here. The first thing I wanted to ask you.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about something that you've been talking about a lot, which is that forcing people into these lockdown situations is not a good thing. And you saw this a couple of days ago in his daily press conferences. Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York expressed surprise that 2/3 of the new cases now in New York City are from people who are in the lockdowns, which confirms your thesis that you've had all along, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, there's a couple points that it confirms. Number one, the infection is far more widespread than anyone was thinking, and that's a very big part. There should be no surprise. Secondly, there's no surprise because most of those people were not workforce people. They were older people, most of whom were retired. And a third point about that was there was a 25% roughly of those cases were from nursing homes and extended care facilities. And again, the only surprise should be that we have not locked that down. The great tragedy of this whole thing will be that while a massive amount of focus was put on locking everybody in place, including healthy people, by the way, who have very little, if any, risk, they never did really lock down the most vulnerable people, the nursing home people, people with chronic conditions. And let me just say this, it's really not it's not new knowledge that those were the at-risk people. This is like every third-year medical student in the country, honestly, understands that when there's a viral respiratory infection that could be serious, the people most vulnerable are older with chronic diseases, specifically with diabetes, renal failure, heart failure, and other immunocompromised people. This is not new information.
Right. Well, every day, wherever you are, you pick up the obituary columns in your local newspaper or the website of your local newspaper, and you see so-and-so died of coronavirus. And 9 or 95 out of 100, I would say, people you read down, they're generally speaking over 70, usually over 80, and they have multiple underlying conditions. I was reading a couple today. Dementia in a couple of cases. That's another, certainly an underlying condition. And then you look at the pictures there, people are I hate to say it, they're very much overweight. I mean, it's very easy to predict who's, shall I say, not going to get this disease. Is that accurate?
Well, I think it's more accurate to predict who. It's not even a matter of prediction. Here's the real point. We have the data. And it's very simple to say, listen, these are the vulnerable people, not only to die, but to specifically be hospitalized. And a lot of data has come out now, and it's really time to end this sort of obsession about hypothetical models and start focusing on what we know and what we know from medical science, and then use simply logic to figure out how to protect the very vulnerable and let everyone else have, with certain guidelines and all the understanding that we know, have a smart way to get back to normal life.
In Massachusetts now, the governor seems obsessed the last couple of days at his daily show and tell briefings with contact tracing. And is that practical in this situation? Contact tracing? I mean, if you're out and about, you don't know who you were sitting next to on the subway or who you walked by on the sidewalk. What does that mean, contact tracing?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a very important and yet again completely misguided obsession of people. The contact tracing as a tool is a very important public health tool in the beginning to avoid the establishment of a pandemic. It's not a tool to use once millions, more than 10 million, in fact, Americans have the infection. Contact tracing is going to be useful at the next inevitable pandemic. This is the third in the past 15, 20 years. It's going to be useful and readily available, hopefully, in, say, if this comes back, and we're talking about fall, winter, spring. But once the pandemic is still going on and we have a massive number of people, multiple millions of people with the disease, there's not a real role for contact tracing. And there is certainly zero logic to having contact tracing be a prerequisite for opening. I suggest that people in these states that are in charge of their policy start focusing on this very simple fact that when we see the deaths piling up, they're piling up in the known vulnerable people. And at this point in time, to keep locking in young children and healthy people who have literally near zero risk of serious illness, while not focusing the resources on the testing that is essential, that is restricting access to nursing homes and testing every single person who walks in there. And I'm not talking about just nurses. I'm talking about people who clean the floors, everything else. These are people already living in regulated environments. There's really no excuse not to be able to get that going. And when you see the numbers piling up in states like Massachusetts, but all over the country, whether it's New York, Minnesota, Oregon, all over, West Coast to East Coast, most of the deaths are in nursing homes now. In
Right.
LA, more than 50%. In states, more than 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah, Massachusetts, it's 60%, and the governor's just saying, "Why aren't you calling in when we're trying to find out contact tracing?" And everybody's going, "What is he talking about? 60% of the deaths are in nursing homes. Minnesota, it's 67% in nursing homes. The average age in Massachusetts and Minnesota, those are the states that have pretty good statistics, easy to come to, is over the age of 80, and yet they're saying you." Electricians on construction projects in Boston can't work. It makes no sense.
And honestly, Howie, when the government leaders in these states are not expressing sensible, data-based, scientific, logical policies, the public senses it, and there's a tremendous amount of fear. I don't know how it is where you live, but where I live, we see people driving in cars, isolated, single people in their own car wearing a mask. And I'm not making fun of that. I'm saying this is just a manifestation of the irrational fear because of our, what I would call, incompetent public officials that lead these states.
Yeah, I think everybody who's listening and watching us has seen that. And right now I'm in Florida, Dr. Atlas. I see people, because the weather's been good down here lately, I see people in convertibles wearing masks. I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't seem to make much sense.
Well, again, it's not about the people. I totally empathize with the fear. I mean, this is not something everyone was afraid. I personally was afraid when this first came out. But we have the data. We understand who to protect. And in fact, by the way, we're limiting the availability of population immunity here. We know that it's the low-risk people. And 99% of people, by the way, have either no symptoms or mild symptoms, okay? And when you're talking about K through 12 schools and you lock those down, even though these children have nearly zero risk of a serious illness, you are also locking down their parents and stopping them from re-entering the workforce because they have to be home. And, it's not about not doing a strategic re-entry, by the way. That's not the narrative. That's against what is the false narrative. Now, people are somehow saying it's either total lockdown or you must be professing doing nothing. That's not what anyone's saying. But what we're saying is that we know what to do. Let's focus on that. Let's get people back to work. And by the way, that's not even talking about the massive harms, catastrophic healthcare harms being done by total lockdown.
I was just looking at some stories on the wire before you came on, and I just saw that in Australia there's a study predicting that there's going to be more deaths over the next 5 years from suicides from the people affected adversely by the lockdowns than from coronavirus, and that 30% of those deaths are going to be of young people who normally wouldn't be less likely to be committing suicide. And they're saying that there may be an extra 1.5 million, close to 1.5 million TB deaths, tuberculosis, just because all the resources are being deflected away from a disease that's ultimately much more deadly than coronavirus.
No, absolutely. And Howie, it's even more direct than that. You don't need a 5-year projection. I've said some of these statistics before, but I'll say it again. There are 150,000 Americans every month that newly are diagnosed with cancer. That's not talking about excluding cancer. Positive new cancer cases, 150,000 per month. For the past 2 months, the overwhelming majority were never diagnosed. 80% of brain surgeries were not done that were needed. 85% of living organ transplants were not done compared to last year. At this point, we're getting 2/3 to 3/4 of women are not going in for their pap smears to rule out cervix cancer. We're talking about people not bringing in their children for childhood immunizations. We are literally killing people. 50% of people on chemo are skipping and delaying their chemotherapy for known cancer. I just got data, 40 to 50% of urgent care centers, the business is down. Urgent care. I mean, it's incredible what's going on because it's people like me that are talking about every single life matters. Whereas the other people, the total lockdown people, focus single-mindedly on no more COVID-19 damage, are ignoring massive, massive harms by that policy.
Are you being attacked on social media for making these points? I assume you are.
I have to confess, about a month or two ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago, I totally stopped looking at Twitter. Although my Twitter account is being putting out things by virtue of the people who work for me, my staff. But I'm not looking at that because honestly, if you really want to talk about something, in retrospect, we will be talking about why did this panic and complete misappropriation of policy happen? And it's an interesting question, but I believe a lot of it is due to the sort of frenzy of information on social media, which I'm normally for more information, and that is a good thing generally, but there's this frenzy. The second part is everybody who can do a Google search thinks he's an expert. And then the third part is we're living in an era fueled by the social media where everything is spoken about with hyperbole. And when you get extreme this and extreme that, this is a factor to me that incites panic. And at this point, panic and really fear has entered into public policy. And these policies are being done without using not just medical science. It's literally denying science to keep schools closed, K through 12. That is denying science. But more than that, there's a complete absence of logic in the discussion. Some of these things you don't even have to be a doctor to understand what is the logical step to next take once you know the science.
I'm glad you're calling it a panic. I started calling it a panic myself. I think it fits the definition perfectly of a historical dictionary type panic. Dr. Scott Atlas, thanks for being with us again, and thanks for being a voice of reason, a voice of reason in the wilderness sometimes, I think. But we really appreciate what you're doing, and keep up the good work. That's Dr. Scott Atlas from the Hoover Institution. I'm Howie Carr.
He didn't come here to be made sport of. Howie Carr.
Boomer Naturals is providing 20% off their face masks for Mother's Day. Boomer Naturals face masks are comfortable, made of 3 layers of cotton and polyester, and have special antibacterial fabrics certified to block 92.2% of particles. The best part if you're looking to get your certification in firearm safety training, these classes are the perfect resource. They're also great for experienced gun owners who need to get recertified in safety. These virtual classes will fill up quickly, so sign up today. To learn more about the online classes, go to capegunworks.com. That's capegunworks.com. And keep Cape Gunworks in mind for all of your future gun and ammo needs. Cape Gunworks in Hyannis. The Moonbats always say Donald Trump isn't very bright. But what about Barack Hussein Obama? Let's listen to some of his greatest hits.
I've now been in 57 states. I think 1 left to go. I don't know what the term is in Austrian.
The Cambridge police acted stupidly.
And there has never been any man or woman more qualified for this office than Hillary Clinton.
There are neighborhoods around the country where it is easier for a 12 or 13-year-old to purchase a gun and cheaper than it is for them to get a book.
I believe in the Second Amendment. It's there written on the paper. If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke.
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia, not Al Qaeda. You said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
People are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
Brace yourself, guys. Here's 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
I myself have always been for lowering the voting age to 16. I think it's really important to capture kids when they're in high school, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable.
That they wanted their voices to be heard. I don't think our colleague is anti-Semitic. I think she has a different experience in the use of words.
That's not the total package, but there are some of the major points of discussion, I would hope, from sea to shining sea, because they are not getting paid 163. Was it 163 Republicans voted no? Wisdom from the kitchen of the Willard Hotel, yes, ma'am.
The president either doesn't know what he's talking about or doesn't want to know what he's talking about.
This is Alex from East Bridgewater, Mass.
This is Ann in Saco, Maine.
This is John Succo from Hampton, Mass. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
855-844-542-42. I'm looking at all these numbers. So, and somebody, a 917 texter says, is it just me, or do the same people who don't want any voter ID also want contact tracing if you've had a cold? Apparently in Massachusetts now, in some cases, the health department's just calling and saying, call us about the contact, about who you've been in contact with. And then they leave some 857 or 833 number. I mean, who's calling back that kind of number? You know, I mean, all the scamming that's going on has been going on, you know? Oh, you call back? Yeah, the first thing we'll need is your social security number and your date of birth. Yeah, I don't think I'm taking a chance myself. 844-500-4242. Jim, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, Howie. I'm a pastor out here in Western Mass, and there were over 350 pastors that sent a letter to Charlie Baker today saying we wanted to be considered, at least in the first, phase of opening churches up. And he was asked about that today and just dismissed it out of hand.
Jim, I think you're going to need to do what the gun shops did. Go file a lawsuit, or you can go the way the golf courses did, Jim. Hire a lobbyist. Actually, I think hiring a lobbyist might be the best thing to do. Pay to play at the State House. The lobbyists, I tweeted it out. I tweeted out the actual documents from the Secretary of State's office. The Massachusetts golf course owners hired a well-connected lobbyist on April 25th. That was 13 days ago. And today you can play around a golf. Jim, Jim, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And that may be the only way you're going to get. Right?
It's a shame that all the houses of faith want to step up and, do what's right, have safety measures in place, and have this governor just dismiss us out of hand like the faith. 360 pastors. How many constituents is that in the state of Massachusetts?
I like I said, I think you have to take a letter is not going to get the job done. A lawsuit or a lobbyist, if you know what I mean. Thanks for the call. And it could be worse. You could be in Illinois. Pritzker is talking about keeping the churches open, maybe closed for a year. At least well into the summer, Pritzker is. It's bad with these governors. I'm so happy that right now I'm in a state with a sane governor. And elections do have consequences. This is another example of that. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Howie, how are you?
Good.
Listen, real quick, you remember years ago in high school, you used to take problems of democracy or civics.
Yeah, sure.
To learn about the Constitution. Well, since they've done away with some of those basic courses, this generation is so readily giving up their constitutional rights when a governor, like up here in Maine, the governor just says, "Oh, well, this is what we're going to do," and they just trample all over their constitutional rights, and people just accept it. That's what's amazing.
But John, it's what we were just talking about with Dr. Atlas, though. Aren't a large number of these people who are into giving up their constitutional rights? They're panicked, right? I mean, they don't care about the fact that there's only been, 60 fatalities in the entire state of Maine? I mean, they're watching this hysteria on TV around the clock. And, if you're not that bright, you're going to get frightened. Thanks for the call. I'm Howie Carr.
once again, just thumping his chest and acting like he is the dictator that I think he wants to be.
President of the United States is a wannabe dictator with authoritarian tendencies.
This is exactly what authoritarians do. This is what strongmen do. This is what happens in authoritarian regimes.
We have a president with a strong authoritarian personality.
Like a dictator from another nation.
People that grew up in authoritarian regimes, seeing echoes of that in President Trump. He likes these figures like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. This is more the actions of a dictator.
He totally wants to be a dictator.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
What they did, what the Obama administration did, and I hope a lot of people are going to pay a big price because they're dishonest, crooked people. They're scum, and I say it a lot. They're scum. They're human scum.
Yes, you are scum.
They should pay a big price, and their partner, very complicit, is a thing called the media. The media is totally guilty. And all of those writers and so-called journalists, they're not journalists, they're thieves.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Candidate Trump on the 27th of July exhorting the Russians to go out, an adversary, an enemy of ours, to help him in his campaign against his opponent. And by the way, the Russians complied with that request about 5 hours later.
We're probably the first administration in modern history that hasn't had a major scandal in the White House.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
The new White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, said it's just nonsensical for every person in the U.S. to be tested for coronavirus. Do you agree with that?
No, I think the problem is that people are speaking without any knowledge of what they're speaking of.
I left that book in my locker, Mr. Ed.
Unchained and unstoppable.
Please welcome Vice President Joe Biden.
Introduce me. Alan?
Oh, here we go.
And as I said, testing, PPP to make sure people can be safe.
Can't you go 5 seconds without humiliating yourself?
How long was that?
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
What was the maximum number of people they had watching that virtual town hall, quote unquote, in Tampa last night? Because when the screen went black for a little bit, 500 people left. So
Don't
I'm
worry.
guessing.
They'll find 2.2 million in Stacey Abrams' trunk next week who watched it.
So if 500 people disappeared when the screen went blank, I'm guessing there weren't that many to begin with. Some of these, he said, fewer than 10,000 people watching. You think there's an enthusiasm gap? We're going to play some of the cuts from yesterday, by the way, before the show is over tonight, probably in the last hour. We'll be playing them. 844-500-4242. Uber Jason says he would like to give his mother a shout out. So Uber Jason, get ready to record. Happy Mother's Day to Uber Jason's mom. He really likes you a lot. Okay, it's done. Let's do the chump line.
I find it very strange that Barack America has no comment on Mr. Trump's comment.
Well, does he have to really comment on Mr. Trump's comment? Doesn't Sally Yates' comment speak for herself? Sally Yates is the acting attorney general that Trump fired when she refused to go to court to enforce the first travel ban. And yet she is, I guess she probably didn't want to, but she's backing him up. That Obama knew what was going on. Obama knew more about what was going on than she did, and she was the number 2 or number 3 person in the Justice Department in the final days of the Obama administration.
The following is a message from the governor about Sunday. All you mothers must stay 6 feet apart.
had no church services. He got slapped down on the Second Amendment yesterday. Now he needs to get slapped down on the First Amendment. I meant what I said to that pastor. You know, you guys, there's two ways to go. You can file a lawsuit or you can hire a lobbyist. And I would suggest hiring a lobbyist. That'll be done much faster, because the lobbyist just goes up to the state house and he's got some, 10s and 20s and here and there, and gets the job done very quickly. And somebody's saying, why don't the Catholic bishops get together and demand that the churches be open? They haven't really got it together. I think this is a Protestant effort here. This letter being signed to Baker, who's a Protestant, but he doesn't care. He thinks he's helping himself with these daily press conferences, and I disagree. The Chump Line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. During these difficult times, we notice that these difficult times are made even more difficult by every message starting off with the reminder that these are difficult times, just in case some of us are not paying attention or maybe forgot. Because after all, these are difficult times.
We only closed the golf courses because everyone else did it. Yeah, Charlie, did that work with your mother? Don't think so.
Come on. It didn't take long. There's a headline in Mass Live, the Springfield Republican website. Now the people who can't walk the golf courses are talking about filing their own lawsuit because he's not letting them use the golf carts. So that's discrimination. And it is. They're going to win. But why do we have to keep going through this charade of pulling teeth when all this has nothing to do ultimately with dealing with the virus? It's just about prolonging the panic so that Tal Duvall can virtue signal every day and feel real good about himself.
Don't know.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, Marty Walsh. Hey, Charlie Faker. Will you please shut up?
I don't buy these 80% approval numbers by the kept media in Boston.
Very fake news.
I remember Dukakis in 1978 after the blizzard. Everybody said he was unbeatable. He got taken out in a primary, in a Democrat primary. Are you listening, Charlie Baker? That's where Charlie's going to get taken out, in a primary. In this case, a Republican primary.
Remember when TGI Friday meant something? Now it's big freaking whoop-de-doo.
Restaurants will be open in Palm Beach on Monday night. I think I'm going to dare the cooties and go out to dinner. And then I think I'll go out to dinner on Tuesday night. And then I think I'll go out to dinner on Wednesday night. I'm sorry for all of you who live in Massachusetts. I legally live in Massachusetts, but I'm not under the jackboot of the Fourth Reich.
Hey, Howie. What's the difference between the two dirty cops, H. Paul Rico and James Comey?
What?
About 6 feet.
I've been telling people, guys like Rico, he just wanted to frame innocent men and get payoffs from gangsters. Same with Zip Connolly, John Morris, all those guys in Boston. That's all they wanted to do. All J. Edgar Hoover wanted to do was make sure he could continue working after the mandatory retirement age of 70. They had modest dreams. They were corrupt, but they had manageable goals in life. These guys wanted to overthrow the government of the United States of America. Talk about megalomaniacs.
I hate to complain. These are difficult times. But what the hell do I do with the 50 cases of empties in my garage?
This is another case where we need a class action lawsuit. I'm getting texts all the time about this. if you can't return the bottle deposits, and that's a state edict because it's too dirty, and again we have a potential transmission of cooties. Why are they still charging you the deposits? And we know why, because all the money that's not collected and it's not redeemed, all the money that's not redeemed goes directly to Baker Baker, Burka Baker, Paul Duvall, Charlie Parker.
Well, the next thing you're going to hear is that Bill Barr met Sidney Powell on the tarmac in Arizona.
Yeah, why don't they make that up? Why don't they just they made up everything else? We played those cuts, Farkas and Clapper and Brennan and all the rest of them. You know, they had no evidence because there was no evidence that there was any Russian collusion, and yet they went out every night on TV and promoted it. And then they got under oath and they said, "Gee, no, we don't know anything about that." When are the Washington Post and the New York Times going to get back their Pulitzer Prizes for their deeply reported stories about what turned out to be a hoax? I'm not holding my breath.
Hey, liberals, are you trying to say Attorney General Barr is President Trump's wingman?
Of course, that's what Eric Holder said he was to Barack Obama. And I guess you could kind of say that Bobby Kennedy was President Kennedy's wingman, and he was his brother. And John Mitchell, the Attorney General for Richard Nixon, he was his law partner in New York. Was he his wingman?
So, what did Obama know, and when did he hear about it for the first time on the TV news?
Well, that's not quite an accurate quote. Didn't he say sometimes he just reads stuff in the paper? You know, he'd go out onto the White House steps and there would be the Washington Post. The Dead Tree edition would be there, and he'd pick it up and take it in and read it over his first cup of coffee and his first Marlboro in the morning. That's where we'd find out about stuff. IRS, there's a problem with Lois Lerner, my dear friend. I can't believe it. We're killing American citizens overseas with drones without giving them their due process, not reading them their Miranda rights. I can't believe this is going on.
That was your last chump line message. Thank you for calling Howie Carr, you chump.
All right, that's it for the Chump Line today. The Chump Line is the recorded voicemail message service of the Howie Carr Show. You can call in, leave a message at any hour of the day or night, including weekends. The Chump Line number, if you'd like to leave such a message, is 844-500-4242, 844-500-4242. Press 2 for the Chump Line. Leave your message. We may or may not play it at this time each weekday. If you want to hear more Chump Line messages, Chopped Chumps is our podcast that goes up right after the broadcast show ends at 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can get it wherever you get all of your Howie Carr Show podcast, Chopped Chumps. The Chump Line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer. During these difficult times, we notice that these difficult times are made even more difficult by every message, starting off with the reminder that these are difficult times, just in case some of us are not paying attention or maybe forgot, because after all, these are difficult times.
Well, the next thing you're going to hear is that Bill Barr met Sidney Powell on the tarmac in Arizona.
And they discuss their grandchildren and their golf games, right? 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
The Howie Carr Show.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
Here's Donald Trump Jr. proving once and for all the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
They hate Trump more than they love America. For them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning. I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To make this guy into a religious scholar, that's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer is a purveyor of organic and fine exotic meats. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids.
Children are off limits. Remember this one? If 13-year-old Barron Trump is not off limits, Hunter Biden sure as is not off limits.
Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, their heads would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that? Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
The coronavirus has made our lives unpredictable. But one thing you can always count on, the White House press corps will always ask President Trump ridiculous questions.
Question, Mr. President, should Americans have to decide between staying healthy and going back to work?
Hey, just checking on oil again today. I was wondering.
Oil?
Yeah.
Where is it today?
Well, I was wondering if you.
No, where's the price? Give me the price.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
How can you ask a question when you don't know the price?
I'll look it up for you.
Okay, let me do something else. What do you say the Americans who are scared, though? I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared? Well, where did he come from, the Inspector General? What's his name?
It came from the Inspector General
what's his name?
report. I don't know his name.
Some of your allies have been bashing these doctors. Would you tell them to cut it out?
Today you tweeted the invisible enemy will soon be in full retreat. Given it's invisible, without widespread testing, how would you know?
Hi, this is Val from Longmeadow, Mass.
Hi, this is Tony and Pietra from Haverhill, Massachusetts.
This is Myrnie in Fairfax County, Virginia, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but with Roman now it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Jared, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Who do you most want to see in an orange jumpsuit?
All of them.
Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Page, Strzok, and McCabe. And our man James Comey still holding strong at 65%.
That's a real murderer's row of perps.
Brennan is number 2 at 20%.
I look forward to someday making one of my almost weekly visits to the BOP.gov website, Bureau of Prisons, and typing in the name, race, age, and sex of each one of those crooked, dirty, rotten scoundrels. Captain Bob, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Captain Bob.
Yep. The demographic that's been really affected by the pandemic are the folks that have died with overdose because they haven't been able to get treatment.
You there? I think we lost Captain Bob. 844-500-4242. You know, I think at this point, a lot of people know somebody who's dead because they couldn't get treatment or because they were told that the surgery that they needed, the procedure, was quote unquote elective. And we had a caller a couple of days ago. He said his sister's father-in-law had stomach pains, and they told him to just ride it out. And it turns out it was a septic infection, and he died. And I told you about that doctor in Dallas, the surgeon that I know, really good guy. I mean, he was distraught because his quote unquote elective surgery practice was put on hold. I mean, he was put out of business, and he got so depressed. I mean, we'll never know, but he didn't have a heart condition before then, and he just started having chest pains and went to the hospital and died. I mean, this is happening a lot. And Scott Atlas was saying, I just was reading him the statistics from an Australian study, and they were saying 5 years down the road, more people will have died from suicides brought on by these lockdowns and the economic disaster that it's created. And he said, you don't have to wait 5 years. I think he's right. I don't think you have to wait 5 years. 844-500-4242. Do we have time for a couple of Joe Bidens here? How about cut 27? This is Joe Biden from today.
You know, here's how it worked. Trump's Treasury Department allowed corporations with connections to go right to the front of the line to get the concierge service that they got.
The concierge service? You're kidding. The concierge service?
Are you sans culotte when you get your concierge?
Cut 24.
As long as there are millions of unemployed, struggling people to get by, we won't be anywhere near bouncing back.
Struggling people to get by? Surely you meant to say people struggling to get by. I dare say on your teleprompter it was people struggling to get by. How did you mix up the two words there, Joe? Cut 26.
Donald Trump claimed he would fight for the unforgotten middle class. For the forgotten middle class. But he immediately forgot them once he got elected. As soon as he got in office, he forgot them.
And I just forgot what I was going to say. I hate it when that happens. Where's my concierge service? I'm Howie Carr.
At Subaru of New England, we believe in vehicles that families can trust. And since your safety is our top priority, our retailers are making it easy for you to shop online right from your home.
hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning. I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To make this guy into a religious scholar, that's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer is a purveyor of organic and fine exotic meats. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids.
Children are off limits. Remember this one? If 13-year-old Barron Trump is not off limits, Hunter Biden sure as is not off limits.
Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, their head would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that? Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history for what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. As a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile's amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com. And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and, Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally
Let's start working in 2020.
This is the Howie Carr Show live from Chappaquiddick at the Party House. 25 years after Chappaquiddick 1969 on WHDH, News Talk 850.
Another bad song from 1969. 742-0850. We're going to take some calls this segment if you want to get on board. If you have any questions for John Farrar, the scuba diver who saw Mary Jo Peckney's body underwater. The number again, 742-0850. We're going to start talking about the incident and everyone's perceptions. John, let me just get this straight. So now, as far as your belief is that while Ted Kennedy was walking past all these houses back towards the Party House where we're broadcasting from now, Mary Jo was still alive. The lovely creature appears to be female, and she would have been alive probably for about an hour. You think?
I think that's most reasonable, and if an hour, if not longer, that's correct.
If not.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. It's Friday evening. You know what that means.
Any state are broken, a duly authorized organization swings into action.
I think I'll watch 8 or 10 highway patrols this weekend. Yeah, it's going to be raining on Sunday. That's what I'll do. All right, time for Police Blotter Facts Friday. You know how Police Blotter Facts Friday works. All week long, we ask you to send in your funny items or stories from your local daily or weekly newspaper, from the police log or the police blotter column, or it could be a standalone story, as long as it's sort of funny and involves the local constabulary, send them to grace@howiecarrshow.com, grace@howiecarrshow.com, or you can fax them to us. Grace, what's the fax number? Do you have it right there in front of you?
I absolutely do. The fax number is 857-284-8864.
8864. And that is not the number to call to give your contact tracing information to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So what we do is we read the best entries of the week right now, and the two best entries get a nice prize. What do they get this weekend?
They will get a copy of your wonderful book, What Really Happened. It's all about Donald Trump and how he became the president of the United States. Howie, I've got a lot of stories to get to, so I'm going to get right to it. A 5-year-old boy was pulled over in Utah on his way to California to try to buy a Lamborghini.
Wow.
I guess he was a good driver, too, because the cop pulled him over and he said to him, "Where did you learn to drive?"
You know who I am?
Because I don't.
He must have got a pretty good allowance, too. A Lamborghini's pretty steep, isn't it?
I just don't think he knew the typical price they go for, because it's reported he only had $3 with him at the time. But as long as he's okay. Drunk man wants to evict couple, rams skid loader into bedroom. This happened.
This is another one of these side effects of the panic. I mean, the landlords aren't getting their rent, and they're going crazy like everybody else.
Yes, especially when there's alcohol involved. This happened in York.
York, Maine?
Yes, York, Maine. An intoxicated man allegedly used a skid loader. I didn't know what this was, so like any good journalist, I Googled it. It's one of those machines that lifts things up. It's just a construction machine, basically. Used a skid loader.
It's like a bobcat.
Yes, exactly, Howard. So okay. You're more of a construction type guy than I am, so you know these things. Yeah. He used the skid loader to try to evict a couple living in his home, ramming the loader into their bedroom on April 27th. The loader.
This is on Janet Mills in my book.
It's not on this intoxicated Maine man.
No, it's on Janet Mills. She shut the state down. There would have been plenty of money to go around in York. It's this is the time when all the rents are coming in from the summer. People, they're paying their rents in advance. Everybody's flush usually in a normal year in York, Maine.
I understand, Howard. I totally agree. Mark Allen Loughran did this around 2:50 a.m. That's when he got a hold of the skid loader and tried to.
When you said 2:50, and he was drunk, I was assuming it would not be p.m.
When the police stopped him, he said he was remodeling. Police did not give additional details on how the couple started living at his house, but they agreed that he could seek an eviction notice with the police. In other news, this is out of Louisiana. Louisiana police search for aggressive chicken. Police are searching for an aggressive chicken accused of engaging in foul play. So you're making sport
of this. You've never owned chickens, though, Grace. So you don't know how aggressive a chicken can be.
Howard, first of all, I am not making fun of this. Anyone who has seen me with a bird on my shoulder knows I am terrified of anything with a beak. That includes chicken. When I see videos of people picking up chickens like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing, I'm baffled because they scare the crap out of me when they move their necks. I wish I had the camera on me right now, Howie. I'm so jealous you have the YouTube cam because I would imitate a chicken. This chicken, witnesses told police.
You want to do the funky chicken? As an old Boston DJ by the name of Charles Lockwood there, I used to say, do the funky chicken, Grace.
The Walker Police Department responded to a complaint about the brazen animal Friday. Witnesses told police the chicken had been spotted at the bank multiple times last week, approaching patrons at the ATM, chasing customers, and even attempting to climb the cars in the drive-thru. This same thing is happening in Massachusetts, but more with turkeys.
Right.
They're really they're getting very cocky, and they think that they, run the show, and they walk around and they scare people. And I saw a video of a turkey.
They scare pugs too. I'll tell you from personal experience.
Exactly, Howie. I saw a video of a turkey attacking a dog, and the owner at first said, no, get away from here. And then when the bird put its wings out, the owner left the dog.
What's the name of the chicken?
Henrietta. She's fierce and funky, and she's doing her best. She could be going through hard times
Henrietta
too.
is a free-range chicken.
No word on whether or not she wore a mask to the bank. Naked man attacks bus. This is out of Connecticut.
Jared. I just had to see if he was on his toes. Taylor's off today, so Jared's filling in.
And he's doing a phenomenal job, Jared. A naked man in the street yelling and pounding on the glass, trying to get on board a Connecticut bus, really rattled the employees. These are some of the quotes.
Was he wearing a mask?
It does not say. Here are some of the quotes, Howie.
Will nobody give the naked man a mask?
Oh, I'm stressed, one of the employees cried out. I'm going to be late, said another. This guy's gonna get tased, said another person. He looks like he's on.
Don't tase me.
He looks like he's on some kind of drugs. Another person said. If you're
No,
wondering how
you
I
don't
have all
say.
these quotes,
Is this Bill from West Hartford, by the way?
I have these quotes because this was all caught on Facebook Live. By the way, guys, Police Blotter Facts Friday is brought to you by Piantadosi Baking Company, celebrating over 100 years of baking excellence since 1916. I also want to remind people, we're joking a lot right now, but masks are mandatory in Massachusetts. And if you're going to have one, you might as well have a comfortable one. So go to our banner and click on the Boomer Naturals banner. And I believe if you enter Howie Carr 20, you will get 20% off all your products. And
Correct.
I wear the mask a lot because, Howie, you can't go into a Dunkin' Donuts now or anywhere here. I know you don't understand because you're a Florida man, but here it's kind of tough. So you want to have a soft, breathable mask. That's the way to go. Speaking of Florida woman busted after allowing her breasts to break quarantine.
Hubba. Could you give me the details on this story?
A Florida woman who insisted to cops that she was allowed to go topless while cleaning out her garage in full view of the neighbors.
Not after quarantine. That's
was
9
arrested.
p.m. in Palm Beach and Boca.
Responding to a call near Vero Beach.
Okay.
It said that the woman pulled down her shirt and exposed her breast to the victim and her children. The minors, the report noted, ranged in age from 11 to 5.
The mailroom manager's been wanting to drive to Vero Beach to have dinner. We don't have to do that now that the quarantine's been lifted here in Palm Beach. But sounds like Vero Beach is a hopping community again.
It says at one point, the witness said the topless woman bent over with her top down and started pounding on her blue plastic recycling bin, making sure that the victim and everyone else was looking. Upon confronting the suspect...
Wait, the victim? Who was the victim?
The neighbor who had to see this woman without her tank top on.
Do we have a mugshot of the woman?
Yes, we do, Howard.
So is the victim really a victim or not?
I will not be answering. I do not like to answer under these conditions.
Well, I don't have the picture in front of me, so I can't.
have the right. In
Judge
your
Carr
court,
can't make a determination here.
Judge
I may
Carr,
dismiss
Judge
this
Carr,
case immediately.
I have the right to remain silent. Silent.
That's more. Yeah, too bad they didn't tell that to Michael Flynn, right? Could have saved him a lot of money. Time.
Well, now people are trying to say it to James Comey. They're like, dude, you don't have to talk right now if you don't want to. I saw a lot of tweets like that. You might want to not talk, bro. Ex-con proves that crack is whack. The first rule of evidence destruction: do not hit a cop in the face with a crack pipe tossed out your vehicle's window.
Even Hunter Biden knows that. He just left it in the ashtray, right?
Escaped ex-con Derry West, 61, was really making trouble during a traffic stop last month near his residence in where, Howie? Dun, 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 dun.
The Sunshine State?
Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Oh, that's where McKay goes to get on the beach, to go to the beach.
Oh, McKay, I hope you don't know Derry West.
Derry West.
So he threw
Any relation to Honey West? TV star of yesteryear?
I have no idea.
This is so incredibly significant.
The airborne object, which would be the crack pipe, was tossed out the window and it struck the officer in the face and fell as it fell to the ground.
They dusted it for prints and Hunter Biden's turned up on it.
You know who originally said crack is whack, Howie?
Who?
Whitney Houston. She said crack is whack. Crack is cheap. That was her defense of why she didn't use crack. That's just a fun history lesson for you in pop culture. Police officers' bike snatched while enforcing social distancing measures.
Another victim of the panic.
And
Where did this happen?
We're going to get to all that on the way back, but I have so many more stories that I don't want to wait too long, so we can do a couple runners up on the other side. You guys don't want to miss this. I've got wine. I've got a truck in the highway. I've got more animals. It's going to be great.
Those animals better have names. That's all I got to say.
Henrietta was a great name.
I'm not disputing that.
Wah, 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 wah.
Do the funky chicken.
Oh, I'm doing the funky chicken. It's Friday.
Everybody needs a great pair of wireless earbuds in this panic that we are all enduring. And you already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of other premium wireless earbuds on the market. I'm holding it up right now so you can see it. These are great. They sound just as amazing as other top audio brands, you know. Grace, are you using yours now?
Howie, I love my Raycons. I wore them all day yesterday, and I'm going to get my dad a pair for Father's Day because he always wears headphones and he's sick of the wires. It just totally kills your vibe. So I said, Dad, don't worry. I'll get them for you for Father's Day. It's a great gift. The price is right, and they're really cute. They come in this adorable little case.
That's
you can't
I'm
go wrong.
holding it up. And, you know, you don't want those wires dangling down. You can't be a cool person if you have the wires hanging down.
I totally agree, Howie. You look like a real noob.
Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise isolating fit. And that's what you want to do, isolate the noise from your significant others. You don't want to listen to their music or podcasts, so get the earbuds from Raycon.
It's crazy to think that some people don't want to listen to my music, but I can tell you that is true. I found out in the last couple of days. People are very happy I have headphones now.
Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls, video chats, binging podcasts, or avoiding Grace's music. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet, as I said, with no dangling wires or stems, which make you look like a hopeless lame. All right. So if you want to get some Raycon earbuds right now, you can get 15% off. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buy, B-U-Y, Raycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
Biden, thanks for the Mary, and I'm going to be here a lot. I want the rest to know she pulled me close. I just want you to know, okay? President Trump inherited an economy from Obama Biden. By the way, he gave me permission to touch it. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the West.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is
fired 2 blasts. They're going to put you all back in chains. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey. The 3-letter word, jobs. 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 One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
This is Mark in Williston, Vermont.
This is Marie in Somerville, Massachusetts.
This is Mike from South Attleboro, Mass. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
Grace, I looked up the woman in Vero Beach. I saw her mugshot. Guilty as charged.
Howie. You don't waste any time, huh? You get right to that Google when you need to see a mugshot. By the way, Howie, I have really good news. Guess who we'll have on at 6:05?
Who?
Kimberly Strassel.
Excellent.
Yes.
She's the great columnist for the Wall Street Journal, has another great column today about how the Mueller investigation was actually the cover-up of the attempted coup by the FBI. Really a brilliant column. I'm looking forward to talking to her.
All right, so now we have our runner-up. Police officer's bike snatched while enforcing social distancing measures. I waited on this, Howie, because I thought you should know this happened in the UK. So if you want to...
Crikey, mate.
There we go.
Just stopped in for a pint of bitters.
So this man, this police officer, these are the quotes from him, because there's also a video of this.
You can throw in governor, too. You're going to throw in governor and mate?
Governor, guys, this isn't funny. That's what he said. And then someone shouted, "You just got robbed." The frontline officer called for backup, but ended up getting...
blimey, mate. Where's me bike?
He had approached the group in their late teens to explain the importance of them adhering to the current restrictions on public gatherings.
You're right. And they took it as seriously as everybody else. Mm-hmm.
And they stole his bike. Woman arrested and charged after telling 911 her nether regions were on fire. I was trying to be classy.
Yeah, I saw this one.
A woman from Ohio was arrested and charged.
She didn't use the nether region, by the way, when she called up 911, is my recollection of the story. Am I correct?
I
Grace?
have a feeling our listeners are as quick to go on Google as you are, so everyone can read this story themselves. Spoiler alert, she was highly intoxicated. Okay, so now I have the 2 winners, and these are really amazing. This first one is crazy. Man climbs under moving big rig, filled with red. Begins drinking from tank.
With red?
So,
red what?
Red wine. This happened in California, Modesto, California. His name is Gabriel Marino. He allegedly jumped on a moving tanker truck carrying bulk red wine, went under its belly to unscrew a valve, and drank the wine as the truck traveled up Highway 99. So this
wasn't there was a tanker truck full of wine, and he opened it. I mean, it sounds like there was a lot coming out. He was drinking all of it.
Well, this is what happened. It's really weird. So the guy puts his hazard lights on and directs the truck to the side of the highway. This is Marino. The truck driver pulls over, believing he may have had a mechanical problem, only to see Marino get out of the car in only his underwear. The camera shows Marino running to the passenger side of the truck and out of view.
So this was a hijacking? Did he know it was a wine truck?
As the truck driver pulls back on the freeway, another onboard camera captures Marino jump back into view, then on the back of the wine truck with no shirt, no shoes, and probably no problems. He rides on the side of the tanker. The video then shows him climb underneath the truck as it hits the freeway. That is truly, wow. He deserves that wine, Howie. That's like a gymnast.
Bill from West Hartford thinks this is a great idea, except it's too much work.
And it wasn't fortified wine, I don't think, Bill. So don't get too excited.
How dare you?
This story's crazy.
Sounds like
too.
It was table wine.
And this story needs some explaining as well. Vegan hit girlfriend with bottle because she came home smelling of bacon.
Damn. Bacon.
Barbaric.
Howie's definitely going to have bacon tomorrow. I can just tell.
I'm having veal tonight. We had some veal brought in.
Oh, I love veal.
What would the vegan have done if he should come home reeking of veal?
Well, Howie, I can tell you what he did when she came home reeking of cheese. This is a long story. A reclusive vegan who beat his girlfriend with a glass vinegar bottle because she smelled of bacon has been sentenced to a community order after pleading guilty to assault. Christopher Ellum is having 2 counts of criminal damage.
Where is this?
This was in London. A lot of British stories today. Miss Smith had told the court that she and Mr. Elam had started out as friends, and then they became romantically involved in 2015. At the time they got together, Elam was neither a vegetarian nor a vegan, or as Howie likes to say, vegan. Eventually, the couple moved in, and that's when he became fanatical about being a vegan, and he pressured her to be one as well.
Was he a vagrant in addition to being a vegan?
He also harshly criticized her for eating 1 cheese and onion crisp, with cheese being forbidden in veganism. Girl, get out of this relationship.
Canadian bacon. I'm Howie Carr.
We here at Matthews Brothers are just as anxious as the next fella to get back out into society. Not that we didn't enjoy all that quality family time over the past few weeks, all 5,301,672 seconds of it. And it was fun putting on a mask before going into the bank and the liquor store, and we really enjoyed calling window companies and begging for a salesman to come on out. And while the past few weeks may have given us a pretty good idea of what eternity will feel like, it also made us realize how precious and fragile our freedoms can be. It made us realize that although we were all in the same storm, we were not all in the same boat. And we realized that every job is essential, no matter what the government may think. Our thanks to everyone whose personal sacrifices helped us weather this storm, and especially to the men and women of Matthews Brothers, who stood shoulder to socially distant shoulder as they continued their mission of providing consistently superior customer service. You can see the results of their relentless passion for making wicked awesome windows and doors, but only at better lumberyards and window professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with 1 T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Is Kennedy Babylon 2 your last book?
No, if I think of another topic for a book I want to write, I'll go for it. But I think it's the last of my Kennedy Babylon series. I made Kennedy Babylon 2 kind of long because I wanted to get everything in there. Now there's other stuff I could write about, but I'm Kennedy now.
Since having the sleeve operation, do you miss not eating big meals?
No, I don't. I can still eat what I used to eat. I just can't eat as much. I'm now very surprised how much I used to eat. I'm surprised at how much people I eat with consume. It's just hard to believe that I used to eat that much. But no, it's not a problem.
How is Mr. Gooner since Pearl's passing?
Mr. Gooner is drowning his sorrows in food.
What is the most trouble you ever got into as a kid?
My father was giving me grief one time up at Moosehead Lake in Maine, and I threw a rock at him. He didn't much like that.
There are plenty of differences between Trump and the Democrats running for 2020, but the main one is Trump's pretty funny. Take a listen.
What advice would you give to the 25-year-old Donald Trump knowing what you know today?
Don't run for president. I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life, okay? It's one of my only good traits. I don't drink. Whenever they're looking for something good, I say, never had a glass of alcohol. I've never had alcohol. Can you imagine if I had? What a mess I'd be. I'd be the world's worst. Other countries, big countries, India, and others, we had to pay because they considered them a growing country. They were a growing country. So what are we? Are we allowed to grow too? Okay. No, are we allowed to grow?
I try like hell to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in.
I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year because I've destroyed her political career and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it. I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be terrible.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Did you have any pets when you were younger?
I had a cat named Dexter. That was my first pet. And then I had possession of 2 poodles when I lived in Palm Beach, Princess and Frisky. They weren't really my dogs, but I took care of them. They lived with me. So they were my dogs. I love those poodles.
When you were a kid, what was the best gift you ever received?
I got this wooden fort from FAO Schwartz in Palm Beach, about the age of 6 or 7, 10 soldiers to go along with it. Such a cool fort. I had that fort for like maybe close to 10 years.
What is your all-time favorite movie?
Probably Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. I love it even more than The Godfather.
What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably chocolate ice cream, followed by vanilla ice cream, followed by coffee ice cream. And now, some of my favorite fake Indian cuts of all time.
I'm not going to ask you for your favorite curse word. Actually, I am. Do you have a favorite curse word?
Poop.
Poop? Oh, that's a goody two-shoes favorite curse word if I ever heard one.
Are you kidding? Have you ever seen a woman like me look you straight in the face after you finished some long explanation of something and then just said, poop?
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
I am not sure what she's talking about as far as a rally with.
It was a rally in Bern, Oregon, is that you have to figure out who you are. I grew up in a family that was barely hanging on to the ragged edge of the middle class. And my Aunt Bee has walked by that picture at least 1,000 times, remarked that her father, my papa, had high cheekbones like all of the Indians did.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
Your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were 2. Number 1, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk, you know? I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother." Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever, is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
So now you've broken your elbow. Have you ever broken any other bones?
When I was 8 years old, I broke my leg. I was playing touch football in Portland, and a big kid, a 15-year-old, tackled me. When I was in my 30s, I was going down the stairs, and one of the kids' toys was on the stairs, and I tripped on it and broke my foot. Yes. I lost a tooth. Yes. Playing touch football when I was just out of Deerfield.
Can you please mention Kimberly's latest book?
Jaw. Sure. My tooth went up. And what's the title of her bridge? A crown from that mishap.
Resistance
I have a replacement hip, and now I have resistance at all costs. Okay.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
What they did, what the Obama administration did, and I hope a lot of people are going to pay a big price because they're dishonest, crooked people. They're scum, and I say it a lot. They're scum. They're human scum.
Yes, you are scum.
They should pay a big price, and their partner, very complicit, is a thing called the media. The media is totally guilty. And all of those writers and so-called journalists, they're not journalists, they're thieves.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Candidate Trump on the 27th of July exhorting the Russians to go out, an adversary, an enemy of ours, to help him in his campaign against his opponent. And by the way, the Russians complied with that request about 5 hours later.
We're probably the first administration in modern history that hasn't had a major scandal in the White House.
You sit on a throne of lies. Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
The new White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, said it's just simply nonsensical for every person in the U.S. to be tested for coronavirus. Do you agree with that?
No, I think the problem is that people are speaking without any knowledge of what they're speaking of.
I left that book in my locker, Mr. Aaron.
Unchained and unstoppable.
Please welcome Vice President Biden.
Introduce me. Alan?
Oh, here we go.
And as I said, testing, PPP to make sure people can be safe.
Can't you go 5 seconds without humiliating yourself?
How long was that?
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
844-500-4242. Last night, Rick Grinnell, the DNI Director of National Intelligence, delivered a satchel of more documents, unredacted intelligence documents, to William Barr, the Attorney General. There was speculation that some of those documents might be released today. Bombshells, President Trump was calling them. It looks like they're not going to be released over the weekend, but hey, we can wait. We can wait a little while. We got a lot of stuff this week. And one of the best columns about what's been going on in the Wall Street Journal was by Kimberly Strassel, The Mueller Cover-Up. His probe was an effort to give a fiction of legitimacy to the FBI's disaster. This is a well thought out column, and she makes some points I hadn't thought of before. She's with us now. Kimberly Strassel, columnist for the Wall Street Journal, and she's also the author of a new book, Resistance at All Costs. Kimberly, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Howie, it's always great to be with you.
You know, I hadn't thought about this, but what the premise of your column is that the first stage of this scandal is the actual attempt by the FBI to frame Donald Trump and the people around him. And then tell us about what part two of the scandal is.
Right. I think part two, we are beginning to understand, is just as important and just as scandalous as part one. And part two is the cover-up, by which I mean the investigation by special counsel Bob Mueller. Because now, when we look in retrospect, we know that the FBI, even in January of 2017, knew that the dossier was bunk. That was the main source of its allegations. We know that the FBI or the Department of Justice has only recently gone back to the FISA court and said that its last two applications for surveillance warrants that it filed against Carter Page should not have been filed because they had no probable cause. Well, guess what? All of that information was at play even as Bob Mueller was being appointed and even as he was later getting marching directions in August of 2017 from Rod Rosenstein. So what were they doing? My argument is Jim Comey triggered this special counsel not to look into Russian collusion, but to legitimize and justify all the mistakes the FBI had made up until then.
Right. And, I think it was interesting that this morning on Fox and Friends, President Trump just, really pointed out how bad of an attorney general Jeff Sessions turned out to be. And I think he said, if Bill Barr had been there instead of Jeff Sessions, none of this would have ever happened because Bill Barr would have figured out what was going on.
Yeah, and what we needed all along was leadership at the Department of Justice that shut down what was obvious abuse of power. And that continued the entire time before we got Bill Barr. You can talk about what Jeff Sessions should or shouldn't have done. But again, look at this Rosenstein scoping memo that came out in August. It was pretty clear the Mueller team, 3 months after it was appointed, was demanding more authority and more avenues of investigation, more tools to go after people on things unrelated to Russia. Rosenstein should have had a backbone and said, no, you don't just get to run amok. You've got a very direct mission. If you can't find collusion, shut it down. And he didn't. He just let him go.
Yeah, but he was part of the conspiracy, right? I mean, you don't think he was just...
Well, look...
I'd say he's a made guy in this crime family, Kimberly.
Well, so I think there are two options. There could be what you just described, or it could be this, that remember, because I do think part of this whole cover up or the important aspect of the Mueller investigation is that it wasn't really run by Mueller, right? It was run by the same cabal of people who had been running the FBI and DOJ before Mueller came on the scene.
Right.
And they all seamlessly transferred over. Now, were they actually alerting any of their higher ups to some of their misdeeds? Possibly not. But then again, on the other side, on your side of the theory, what the hell was Rod Rosenstein doing, giving Bob Mueller permission to investigate Michael Flynn on a Logan Act theory, an absolutely absurd idea that even his own Department of Justice had 8 months earlier decided would never fly in court?
Well, I'm just looking at this quote here. The section of the scope memo, investigate Carter Page and Paul Manafort for a crime or crimes by colluding with Russian government officials. As Alan Dershowitz always likes to say, there's nothing in the U.S. criminal code about colluding being a crime. So, the whole thing is preposterous on its face, isn't it? No wonder they wanted to redact everything.
Of course it is. It's why they kept this hidden for years. And look, let's also just be clear. We need to be incredibly straightforward about this. Every single allegation that the FBI and Bob Mueller had regarding quote unquote collusion and Carter Page or Paul Manafort came straight out of the dossier. There was nothing else. And yet that dossier had been disavowed by its main source 5 months before Mueller was ever put on the scene. So again, why was Mueller appointed? What was he supposed to be doing? They knew there was no Russian collusion case, even as they were naming him.
Yeah, well, I think didn't John Dowd a couple of years ago, that one of the president's earlier attorneys, say that he was fairly certain that within a month after his appointment, Mueller would have realized that there was nothing to investigate. And so that's why the new scope memos were issued, right?
Well, and look at what's contained in those scope memos. There's this passing reference to looking at allegations of Carter Page and Paul Manafort and collusion. The rest of it is either unrelated to Russia or something that is like a so-called crime that the FBI created, right? Where they're supposed to be looking into whether George Papadopoulos was an unregistered agent of the Israeli government and whether or not, Mr. Flynn was an unregistered agent of Turkey, and activities that Paul Manafort had engaged in that took place years before he ever worked for the Trump campaign. They had nothing, bupkis, and their goal was to try to squeeze something, anything out of this probe, again, to legitimize the FBI's decision to have ever began it.
And these references to FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, I mean, I always keep coming back. Didn't they get the Podestas cold on that? And no one was ever prosecuted. I mean, people don't register as foreign agents. How often is that crime, quote unquote, prosecuted?
Yeah, this falls into the same category of the Logan Act, right? By the way, the Logan Act idea was just absurd, a 1799 law that no American has ever been convicted under. But FARA is almost just as absurd. It's a 1938 law that was rarely prosecuted until Bob Mueller resurrected it from the near dead. In the 50 years through 2016, the Justice Department brought 7 criminal FARA cases and it won 3 convictions. And what normally happened is if you were, a beltway operator, sometimes you failed to file your forms or they were inaccurate. The Department of Justice would call you up. You might pay a fine. You'd get everything, straight. Bob Mueller decided to turn this into a criminal offense. It was a total unequal application of the law and began squeezing people with it. And, that was one of the things he went after Flynn over.
When we say Mueller, we really mean Weissman, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Look, this was...
We saw the hearing last summer.
Yeah, no, and again, this is a scandal. The probe designed to look into what happened was the same people who had committed all of the errors. This was them covering up their actions.
What happens next, Kimberly?
Weissman was at the Department of Justice during all of this.
Yeah, and he's
what happens next? So look, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think one thing that's being overlooked here is that this is really kind of an early outcropping, as it were, of the Durham investigation. I was told by a source that this review of the Flynn case, it was done by Jeff Jensen, the U.S. attorney out of Missouri, came under the umbrella of Durham. He was named in consultation between Bill Barr and Durham. And so I kind of feel as this week is maybe off to the races, a starting gate of us starting to finally really beginning to see some of the details of this. And for anybody who hasn't gone and read the filing that was put in the Flynn case, go and read it cover to cover because it's got a lot of new and highly disturbing information in it.
Isn't it amazing that the people on MSNBC and CNN, they're pretending that Flynn was really convicted of a crime, and they're refusing to accept the fact that people can be coerced into making pleas. I mean, they maybe not using the third degree of the 1950s, the light overhead and the sap wrapped in a towel, but I mean threatening someone's son. I mean that's the same thing, isn't it? And they refuse to accept it.
Well, yeah. Well, this is the same media press corps that only 4 or 5 years ago ran stories every day on Black Lives Matters and law enforcement abuse. Okay. So they know full well that what law enforcement is capable of doing with the right tools and powers. And they have written stories in the past as well about prosecutorial abuse. But it just turns out, by the way, Howie, that when there's somebody they really don't like, they're more than happy to hang them and flog them. And they don't care what tactics are used. And that's a really disturbing double standard for the press corps of the United States.
It is. Kim Strussel, that's a great column. And your new book, Resistance at All Costs. Tell us briefly what that's about.
Well, it goes through all of this. It goes through Flynn. It goes through Mueller. It goes through the origins and everything that got us to this point, pointing out that, these are people that their hatred of Donald Trump was so great that it gave them the mindset that they were allowed to break any rule and regulation in order to stop him. And that is why we are where we are.
Kim Strussel, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. You're doing a great job with the Wall Street Journal, too. And look forward to reading your book and reading your columns in the future. I'm Howie Carr.
He's New England's talk radio king. He's Howie Carr.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while, and some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? Because the benefits are incredible. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout your body. It even supports healthy blood pressure. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. This level of research is unheard of in the nutrition category. To try Super Beets risk-free for 90 days, visit www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie and get a free 30-day supply, free shipping, and free nitric oxide strips to test your nitric oxide levels with your first purchase. Or call their toll-free number, 800-876-1619. That's www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie or call their toll-free number, 800-876-1619.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Did you have any pets when you were younger?
I had a cat named Dexter. That was my first pet. And then I had possession of two poodles when I lived in Palm Beach, Princess and Frisky. They weren't really my dogs, but I took care of them. They lived with me. So they were my dogs. I love those poodles.
When you were a kid, what was the best gift you ever received?
I got this wooden fort from FAO Schwartz in Palm Beach, about the age of 6 or 7, 10 soldiers to go along with it. Such a cool fort. I had that fort for like maybe close to 10 years.
What is your all-time favorite movie?
Probably Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. I love it even more than The Godfather.
What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably chocolate ice cream, followed by vanilla ice cream, followed by coffee ice cream. I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
We went to the White House for the Christmas party. In your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were two. Number one, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk. You know, I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother."
This is Jeff in Woodstock, Connecticut.
This is Laura Benner in South Burlington, Vermont.
This is Jimmy Mack in Falmouth, Massachusetts, and this is The Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. Talking about erectile dysfunction isn't easy, but now with Roman, it can be. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort of the privacy of your own home. Go to getroman.com/Howie to get a free online visit and free 2-day shipping. Jared, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Who do you most want to see in an orange jumpsuit? Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Page, Strzok, or McCabe?
I'm still going to say Comey, but again, it's really tough to make a choice.
Big game James Comey is still in the lead at 65%. Brennan is second at 20%, and Peter Strzok is holding third at 9%.
Oh, he's a loathsome character, that Peter Strzok. Third generation of corrupt Boston FBI agents. Let's hope there isn't a fourth one. 844-500-4242.
Probably won't be unless he and Page can get those conjugal visits.
All right. This is a great summation of Neil Ferguson. I mean, the guy he's one of the main characters who's put us into this mess, you know, with the horrible 14.7% unemployment rate, 20.5 million jobs lost last month because of this fool's model. This guy is not just a hypocrite, but he's a fool. This is the guy, and he of course, has now had to resign from his job as an advisor to the British government because he got caught violating his own lockdown rules by bringing in his married tart girlfriend, and violating all of his own, even though he tested positive. Ferguson's hypocritical violation of his beloved lockdown, writes John Fund in National Review, was the least of his errors in judgment. His incompetence and insistence on doomsday models is far worse. We've talked about this, but just in case you weren't with us when we were talking about this. This guy he's been totally incompetent and driving panics with these stupid models for almost 20 years. Elon Musk calls Ferguson an utter tool who does absurdly fake science. Jay Schnitzer, an expert in vascular biology and a former scientific director of the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center in San Diego, tells me, I'm normally reluctant to say this about a scientist, but Ferguson dances on the edge of being a publicity-seeking charlatan. Indeed, Ferguson's Imperial College model has been proven wildly inaccurate. To cite just one example, it saw Sweden paying a huge price for no lockdown with 40,000 COVID deaths by May 1st and 100,000 by June. That's less than 4 weeks away now. Sweden now has 2,854 deaths and peaked 2 weeks ago. Indeed, Ferguson has been so wrong in the past that some of his fellow modelers call him the master of disaster. Ferguson was behind the disputed research that sparked the mass culling of 11 million sheep and cattle during the 2001 outbreak of foot and mouth disease. He also predicted up to 150,000 people could die. There were fewer than 200 deaths. In 2002, Ferguson predicted that up to 50,000 people would likely die from exposure to mad cow disease in beef. 177 deaths.
Howie?
Yes.
Could I make a tiny plug for my column that will be in the Boston Herald this weekend? Because Professor Ferguson makes an appearance. He's the star, some might say. He doesn't come into the column till the end. Okay. I basically go over all the biggest hypocrites in this pandemic, and he's a winner for sure.
There's Chris Cuomo in there and George Stephanopoulos.
If you mean Fredo Cuomo, yes, he too takes up a good amount of my 700 words.
In 2005, Ferguson, the star of Grace's column, predicted that up to 150 million people could be killed from the bird flu. 150 million. 282 total. In 2009, a government estimate based on Ferguson's advice said a reasonable worst-case scenario was that swine flu would lead to the death of 65,000 Britons. 65,000. Final death toll, 457.
Very fake news.
Oh, that's great. Professor Ferguson. Corky, mate. You ruined the economy. I'm Howie Carr.
Don't you hate it when someone shows up unexpectedly at your door? With the Guardline Outdoor Motion Sensor, you'll always know when someone enters your property. Keep tabs on little ones playing in the yard or teens coming home at night. We're always watching, so you can have peace of mind. Go to guardlinesecurity.com/radio and enter the code radio at checkout for $20 off your order. Guardlinesecurity.com/radio. That's guardlinesecurity.com/radio.
Boomer Naturals is providing 20% off their face masks for Mother's Day. Boomer Naturals face masks are comfortable, made of 3 layers of cotton and polyester, and have special antibacterial fabrics certified to block 92.2% of particles. The best part is they last 30 days. Simply wash them when you go home at night, and they're good to use again the next day. Adult and child sizes are available. Go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on the Boomer Naturals banner. Use promo code HowieCarr20 at checkout to save 20%.
Jim Acosta, without a doubt, wins the competition for Trump's least favorite journalist of all time. Let's listen to some of their feistier moments.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
Well,
should I let him have a little bit more? What do you think, Peter?
Peter,
should I let him have a little bit more? Sit down. I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you?
When I
you're raising
raise
for
money,
veterans.
excuse me, I've watched you on television. You're a real beauty. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much better.
if I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President, what do you say to your critics who say that you're concocting a national emergency here in order to get your wall because
I
you
asked
couldn't get
the
it through other
angel
ways?
moms, what do you think? You think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons, because your question is a very political question, because you have an agenda. You're CNN. You're fake news.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard, the fill out the forms, but that's not how it worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan.
Results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles.
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile's amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
He's the gaff that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts, I get in trouble with some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me, it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it. And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who runs
and can you just tell Grace to come up and I want to talk to her about something?
On a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my
jaw. My tooth went up and I still have a bridge, a crown from that mishap. I have a replacement hip and now I have a bunch of pins in my left elbow.
When do you plan to retire?
I don't plan on retiring. As an old football coach once said, once you retire, there's only one big moment left. You know what that is.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. I just got an email from the White House. They said, what's my address? Because the president wants to send you a little note. Oh, that's great. That's really great. So then they sent me, he was reading some stuff, that a story. And this is from Breitbart by CDC data. Average age of those who died from COVID-19 is 75. That's by Michael Patrick Leahy, who's been a guest on the show before. He's a Vermont guy now living in Tennessee. So I wrote down. So in the column they mentioned they mentioned the tweet that I sent out recently with the data from the Massachusetts coronavirus dashboard, saying that showing the charts on how many people have died in the above 80 age group, the above 70 to 79 age group, and that's basically 85%. And so, and it included my tweet saying this with the chart, and then said, "This is why you have to wear a mask outside tomorrow." Do you really think you're in serious danger? And the president just wrote on the piece, the print copy of the Breitbart story. Howie, this is amazing. Great work as always. So we're going to just tweet that out. That's good. Grace, you actually tweeted that out for me. I just came up with the caption for it. So it's for you too as well. That's good. I'm
so
happy.
Donald Trump was saying, "Grace Curley, this is awesome."
he knows who you are, Grace.
Okay. You need to stop because I won't be able to walk through the door tonight. My head will get stuck if you keep blowing up my ego. I don't think he knows who I am, but someday he will.
He remembers you.
Someday I'm going to be as good as Kimberly Strassel, and then he'll know who I am, and then he'll retweet me.
He says, "This is amazing." And you were part of this amazing tweet, weren't you? Yes,
Amazing
you were.
Grace. This is amazing Grace. I think that's what he meant.
844-500-4242, 781. Governor Newsom just ordered vote by mail for November in California. Can that be overturned? I don't know. I usually they allow states to have the last call on voting laws, but I mean, whoever the Democrat is going to win California. It's just I don't want them to steal any more congressional seats. You still got some good Republicans out there like McCarthy, Nunes, McClintock. I hope something can be done. I don't know. 844-500-4242. We'll send that tweet out very, very shortly with the original tweet and then the note from the president. 844-500-4242. Elaine, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Elaine.
Hi, Howie.
Hi.
I really love your show. I have to say, I love the cuts and I love the way you and Grace present things. And you are 100% right.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine.
I'm from Massachusetts originally.
Yeah.
I grew up in Dorchester. I'm the same age as you. And I grew up in Dorchester. Massachusetts wasn't like that when I was young.
Elaine, as bad as Massachusetts is, Boston is worse. Boston is absolutely gone.
When I got married, my husband and I moved to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It was the best decision we ever made.
Yeah. I know. New Hampshire is teetering though, I mean, a lot of people from Massachusetts moved up there and, they've, I don't understand it. You flee the chaos and the turmoil and the totalitarian instincts of Massachusetts. You go to New Hampshire and then you try to start imposing the same mores that you fled in Massachusetts. I've never understood that. That goes for all the people fleeing the blue states. I don't get it. I guess I'm fleeing the blue states too, but I want to live free and die in a tax-free, freedom-loving state like Florida and like New Hampshire used to be. Thanks for the call, Elaine. Rocky, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Rocky.
Hey, Howie, great show as usual. Hey, without Grace, you wouldn't be half the man you are. Hey, listen, I just want to throw this out there. How can this blowhard Baker levy a $300 fine on me for not wearing a mask in public when he had a hand in slaughtering all these people? And you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about in Holyoke. How about just the fact that in general, 60% of the deaths in Massachusetts are in nursing homes. Now, he doesn't directly control all of them like he controls the Holyoke and Chelsea soldiers' homes, but the state regulates nursing homes. I think it's in New York. New Jersey. It's less than 50% of the deaths are in nursing homes. Rocky. Don't you think that he's imposing these ridiculous edicts, whether it's not allowing the churches to open or being the last guy to open up the golf courses and being sued to open up the gun shops. Don't you think all of these are attempts for him, by him, to get people not thinking about the carnage that's going on in these nursing homes?
Absolutely, Hal. And the other thing too is the with his kid groping the chick on the plane. Is that international airspace or is that under mass law? I don't know. You know what I mean? Hey,
I think that's not coming back. I mean, they just the state police flipped that over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and when they were abolishing Troop E because of all the embezzlement, there was a lot of problems at F Troop at Logan Airport. They decided not to abolish F Troop, and at the same time, F Troop was getting a pass on all of its problems. They had that report about his son, Gropey, A.J. Gropey Baker, and they pushed it to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and now it's a moot point. Thanks for the call, Rocky. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Howie. Howie, but just in reference to the FBI in Boston, I read on this Native Brothers did anything with the Boston Marathon bombing. One of the things where they said the FBI only interviewed him once, but they were so busy, they didn't have a lot of time to investigate all these different allegations. So it's interesting because I was very close to seeing where the Stevenson's boy was killed. I saw his sister. I saw a lot of people injured that day. Now here we are, the FBI with the top guys. There's a lot of good people in the FBI, but they had plenty of time to investigate President Trump. All these years, all these
they had years. Yeah, you're right, John. Years. They spent years on this. They were brainstorming this over and over again. They were drawing up all these stupid applications for FISA warrants for crimes that didn't exist. They were, Stroke was flying to London in 2016 to talk with the CIA about how they were going to try to frame these guys like Papadopoulos and Page. Yeah, and they did. Another thing, John, they didn't have time when that guy Gary Sampson, who ended up killing 3 people who picked him up as a hitchhiker. Remember that guy? He called up and wanted to surrender to the Boston FBI office, and nobody ever got back to him. I mean,
but they have time to go to the General Flynn, who's a 30.
Right. I know John's got a bad connection. Yeah, I know. And again, another Ruby Ridge, Waco, those were different kinds of screw ups. But the Parkland High School shooter, his aunt called up the FBI tip line. I think it's in Boise, Idaho. And she talked with him for over 10 minutes and laid it out. She said, I have this nephew and he's insane and he's going to kill everybody at his high school. She gave him the name of the school. She gave him the name of the guy. Nothing happened. I think in that case, they actually passed it on to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, but there was no sense of urgency or anything like that. And that's just it. But again, look what they did to Roger Stone. That's also in Broward County. Think of it. That's a good way to look at it. There's a Parkland High School shooter. They don't even bother with him. And he kills, 16, 17 kids in the school and a couple of the teachers. But Roger Stone, 67-year-old guy with a deaf wife who's even older and an ancient dog, they have 29 agents, amphibious craft, aircraft overhead, SWAT teams to take him out for a process crime. Those are their priorities. You know what surprised me today in the interview that Catherine Herridge from CBS did with Bill Barr? She asked him about Christopher Wray, which was a good question. And he said, oh, yeah, we get along. We're partners. I thought that was a really weird word. It's like, you're not in a law firm with this guy. This guy is your underling. You're the attorney general and he's the director of the FBI. You are his boss. And he doesn't seem to me to be getting the job done. But Barr was alibiing for him, or maybe they're just lining him up, making him feel comfortable before the headshot. I don't know. Mr. X, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mr. X.
Hey, Captain. Good evening. How are you?
Good.
Hey, listen, Howie. the story of the week, outside of, Baker and Marty are completely insane. There's 8,000 employees in the city of Boston that make over $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me? That is the problem here. And that is why they're suppressing the population to force a federal bailout. It's a joke. You're paying hacks 100,000, 8,000 of them with a pension?
I know. They don't have enough cops in the city, and a lot of the cops are being forced to work double shifts, and that's part of the problem. But again, you got a lot of people at City Hall, and I don't have any problem with that. But a lot of the people, as you go further down the list, it's these people at City Hall who aren't doing anything, and some of them haven't been there for 6-7 weeks now.
Howie, you got parking lot attendants at Massport. Parking garage guys making $150,000 with a base of 68. It's insanity.
I know. And again, have there been any layoffs at Massport, Mr. X? The answer is no. Of course.
I'm going to go on. I'm going to say yes and no.
That was a rhetorical question. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Charlie Baker is another guy. He's out of control, and he needs to be primaried. Get rid of him. It's insane.
I know. We're going to find somebody. We're going to find somebody, Mr. X. I don't know who it's going to be.
I'll do it, Howie. Run me, Howie. Mr. X, I'll run.
I think Mr. X could beat Charlie Baker right now in a Republican primary. Mr. Y could do it too. Why Charlie Baker? Thanks, Mr. X. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
You're tuned into the Howie Carr Radio Network.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by MD Drip IV Therapy in Dedham, Mass. Go to mddrip.com to book your appointment. Mention Howie at checkout and receive 10% off. mddrip.com. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're listening to, not what your roommates or family are listening to. Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycons start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was co-founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Howie.
He is the youngest senator that is going to be running. In his video, he also mentioned he's the only senator that lives in the inner city, and he's an unmarried vegan. So a lot of very unique qualities Cory Booker brings to the table, Kate.
Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators?
Have you ever had an LGBTQ law clerk?
I've not been a judge, so I don't have any law clerks.
Someone working for you.
I'm to be honest, I don't know the sexual orientation of my staff.
When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about this experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt, tears of rage.
Would you just stop being so dramatic?
I'm a big believer that if this country hasn't broken your heart, then you don't love her enough.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
People are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE. 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
How did you come up with the name VB?
My first producer and I both had steady girlfriends, or we were married or whatever. And BB was always saying that we were whipped. You know what I mean? Finally, I said, you don't even have a girlfriend. I've never seen you with a female. As a matter of fact, I don't think you have ever had sex. You are just a virgin boy.
What is your biggest fear?
That Donald Trump will not be reelected in 2020 and that some horrible Democrat will come in and finish off the destruction of this once great country.
Out of all of your daughters, who is the least like you and why?
Probably Charlotte, even though we went to the same high school, Deerfield Academy. She has a different sense of her responsibilities than I do. Let me put it that way. She has a different regard for money. She's not a cheap bastard, in other words.
This is Chris in Rochester, Mass.
This is Mark in Nashville, New Hampshire.
This is Lorna in Truckstown, Pennsylvania. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
727, run Cape Gun Works guy in the primary. 617, my late 110-pound Bernese Mountain Dog could beat Charlie Parker in a primary. Remember in September, because that's when the primary will be. Remember in September, we're going to have to find somebody. 844-500-4242. He was talking today, oh, you can't go back to church. How about that? 350 ministers wrote him a letter. We heard from one of them earlier today. He just brushed it aside. How many members of those 350 congregations are they? More, probably as many as Charlie Baker has hacks on the payroll who'd bother to go out and vote for him. You could probably beat him right with those 350 congregations that he just brushed aside. Ugh, what a disappointment. He's disappointed in Trump. How disappointed are all of us in Charlie Baker?
There's no way you can just flip a switch, and doing so all at once could almost guarantee that we would have a huge spike in infections and more fatalities, the exact result we are seeking to avoid.
60% of the fatalities are in nursing homes. Tal Duvall.
No single day is indicative of a trend. Data trends have to be looked at over time and are crucial to our conversations about how soon we can start the process of reopening.
Do you think you should have maybe regulated the nursing homes a little more carefully?
Don't know.
Including the two soldiers' homes? Chelsea and Holyoke?
Don't know.
Is there blood on your hands, those 60% of the fatalities in Massachusetts that are in nursing homes? You have a higher percentage of fatalities in nursing homes than Cuomo in New York and Murphy in New Jersey, and nobody's exactly giving them A+ for great management. So how bad is your management?
Don't know.
I know. Peter, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Peter.
Hey, Howie. I'm real quick. I am just frustrated beyond belief. Under 60 in New Hampshire, 5 deaths. Under 70, 13 total. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely? You know what this is? This is the climate change crowd. They've got a new thing. And
I know. That's a very good way to put it, Peter. Exactly.
I mean, if we don't put, I used to be like, okay, let's trust them. I'm done. The pearl clutchers are going to push this forever unless we stand up to them.
I know. I agree. You got to talk to Chris Sununu. I've been trying to get Chris Sununu to come on the show. He needs to show a little spine here. I like the guy, but you know he's got to he's got to stand up. I mean, there aren't hardly any deaths in New Hampshire. Same with Maine. Same with Vermont. Same with over half the counties in the United States of America have 0 deaths. And yet we now have 20.5 million people out of work. Yeah, I'm with you, Peter. Are you kidding me? Mike, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Mike.
Howie, I just called to remind you of something. All these clowns involved with Flynn and this Russian deal, every one of them is out there right now with top access clearances.
Yep.
That needs to come to an end yesterday. You know, these guys are running around. I'll tell you, Trump's never going to get any peace as long as these people have access into the intelligence agencies. And there's no reason for any of these people to have a clearance anymore.
I agree.
None of them.
There's, the fact that especially these FBI guys posing as cops, like they're crime fighters, they're just Democrat bureaucrats that are out to impose their will upon anybody who disagrees with them. I mean, it's the fascist Bureau of Investigation. And, I know that not all the agents are corrupt, but the ones at the top appear to be pretty much all right down the line corrupt. Why didn't anyone blow the whistle? Why is it taking this long? Now, finally, we're starting to hear that, they're seeing which way the wind blows. But there aren't any real whistleblowers in DC anymore, are there? Check out the tweet with the president's comments. I'm Howie Carr.